We're live. Today's Thursday, May 7th. And you're tuned into NEZ SEZ, a place where musicians can come together and inspire each other to play more guitar. Thank you for being here. We have a great show tonight. My name is David Nesdall, and this is my co-host, Ty Price. Hey, Ty.
Hey, Dave.
How you doing?
Good. I'm good. Happy Thursday.
Yeah, happy Thursday.
It's good to see you, and it's good to be here with you and our very special guest tonight. Many of you here know Jay Hannon as a co-host of the Johnny Bean Show, and we're thrilled that he has joined Dave and I tonight. We're going to talk to Jay about his professional journey into music. It's a really fascinating story about a musician, a songwriter, a touring guitar player, and these days, an engineer and a producer. His band Gizmachi has played with huge artists such as, this is a terrific list, Jay. Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Velvet Revolver, Shadows Fall, Rob Zombie, Mastodon, and Slipknot. And he did it all in a really unique way. He formed a band with childhood friends from upstate New York. They found a way to work their way out of small rehearsal rooms, signing to a major label, and went on to perform on some of rock's biggest stages. So please welcome to tonight's show our guest and our friend, Mr. Jay Hannon. Jay, welcome.
Nice.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, you did.
You know, Ty, you already know more about my band and me than I do. So, and I'm watching. I can already feel it. I'm blending in with the background in my room here. So nice
shade of red.
I'm glad to be here with you guys, man.
Yeah,
I'm actually kind of nervous.
No, we're glad you're here.
Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I have to remember now that I am the guest. I do not take the chat under control. That's all under you guys.
Well, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, you know how this works.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Dave, do you want to boot me real quick so Ty gets the top so I can be on the bottom, or do you want to?
Does it really matter?
That's up to you guys.
I wouldn't boot you anyway. You'd have to get rid of yourself.
No.
Anyway, let's just say hello to the people in the chat real quick. In the chat, Chris Beaven is here. Ben Coombs is here. Ty Price is here.
I'm here.
Brendan B. Squared. Hello. BB Ninja's here. Jeannie Says is here. Amanda Coombs is here. My father, Richard Nesdall. Hello, Dad. Dry Heat 480. Ron Limber, the Chad. My buddy, the Chad. John Bullware is here. Welcome back, John. I haven't seen you in a while. Joseph D'Angelo's here. Vinny 5150 is here. 7/8 is here. Thomas Santiago. Hugh Caldwell is here. And the list keeps growing.
Yeah, it's rolling. People are rolling in. This is cool.
Yeah, not bad at all. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I want to say hi to my parents. They're watching. Hi, Mom and Dad.
Hi, Jay's parents.
Hi, Jay's parents.
And before we get started with anything, it was really special growing up when I started to get into music. Having parents that really, I guess understood and felt my passion for playing and that type of thing, and didn't, obviously, it was always you need something to fall back on type of thing, which I think most parents do.
Sure.
But my parents were always supportive and let me follow my dream, and it's very special to have that. So thank you guys.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
very nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So what was the catalyst for that, Jay? Was there music in the house? Did you come from a musical household?
Not really. Not really. I would say, growing up, like my parents always had music on in the house, whether it be, like old doo-wop stuff or usually like the oldies. And my father was a big Pink Floyd guy and, the Eagles and stuff like that. But I would say the definite, like my older brother was 4 years older than me. He got into like Van Halen and Rush. And when I heard him listening to that stuff, that's what really got me like, whoa, and plus my older brother. I looked up to him, so much, but that's what really started the hard rock type of thing. And then, just carried on from there. So So I mean, my parents never played instruments really. My father, he was in a band. Their band was called Cold Storage, but none of them had instruments. So my dad played keyboards, you know.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Cool. So what was the so who was the first guitar guy that made you want to go out and get a guitar? Or was guitar even your first instrument?
Well, my brother played drums. He got a drum set, I'd say probably around 1986 or 87. No, he got it before that because we lived in Illinois. He got a drum kit before we moved to Jersey. So I'd say he got his drum kit in either 85 or 86. And, I would just used to hop on his kit every once in a while if he let me, so I had rhythm, in the coordination to do that type of thing. But I don't think I ever really wanted to play drums, seriously. Listening to Eddie Van Halen when I got a little older, that was like, wow, I want to play guitar, but it didn't make me want to get one. So when I was about 15 years old or so, or almost 15, my brother brought home this.
Oh yeah.
And Larry Mitchell's solo record, his first solo record, is the album that made me say, I want a guitar. So my 15th birthday, my mom took me to McKeel's Music Shop in Newburgh, New York, and got me a guitar. And my father, he tried to poo-poo it at first because he dealt with my brother playing in a band, because he had his, my brother had his band over all the time playing. And my dad was like, the supportive thing didn't start there with music yet. My dad was kind of worried that now I'm going to have a band over and it's going to be noise 24/7 type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got it, and I think, my dad saw that I really loved playing and I fell in love with it. That's when he was like, yeah, it's fine.
What was that first guitar, Jay?
It was this is so, we got ripped off. We didn't know,
Sure.
So it was a white Harmony. I don't know the model or whatever, but it was a used one. And it was just the guitar. It was used, and it must have had some water damage because the whole back of it was warped and it was splitting, And my mom might remember how much we paid. I want to say it was either maybe, what was it? $125 or 150. I forget what it was. But I remember a few months later, maybe around Christmas time or something, remember with the Sears catalogs or the wish list and all that stuff used to come out at either Sears or JCPenney's. They had that exact same guitar with an amp, with picks, with a strap, a whole starter kit, like scale books and all that stuff for it was either the same price or a little less than what we paid for that used, the exact same guitar with the whole kit. But I mean, it's a funny story now when you look back at it.
Sure.
But that was my first, guitar that I had.
Do you remember if it was really hard to play? Do you remember if the action was really high, or you didn't really want to play it because it was just a drag to play?
No, I wanted to play it. It was just, I really didn't have anything to compare it to. So it wasn't dreadful, but I remember just noodling for a couple days with it. I had what was his name? Doug Marks, Metal Method.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My drummer, my childhood friend Anthony, who started playing drums when I started playing guitar. His older brother played guitar, and he had this Metal Method VHS.
Yeah.
And he brought it over for me, and I was like, oh my God, And once, I'm telling you, you can noodle around a couple days. I had no idea what I was doing, You see Eddie doing the finger tap stuff, so you start putting your right hand on the fretboard. Hey, listen to this, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Once I learned how to palm mute, and I felt I was like, holy shit, I love it. This is what I want to do. It took palm muting, to really. Once that happened, I was like, I'm sold. I'm in.
Cool. Did you make your way through the whole metal series, the whole Doug Marks series?
No, man. No, some of that stuff was way ahead of what I was even, understood. It's one of those things though. I remember watching it for the first time thinking, well, I can't wait to do that. And then once you start learning the stuff that you're learning on the screen, how is he doing that? That's kind of what I was feeling, So of course there's that discouraging part. I think a lot of musicians in general, not just guitar players, and even people that play sports, anything that takes dedication and commitment to do. A lot of people don't make it past that first discouraging moment, and they're like, "Screw this, I'm out. I don't want to do it."
Yeah.
But
so, did you ever take formal lessons at all? I mean, because how does one learn how to excuse the expression, but finger a guitar if you don't know, if no one showed you how to do it?
I honestly don't really remember. I didn't have formal lessons. I don't know. I just remember sitting there.
Because I would think that you'd be going like this, not knowing, one finger per each fret,
I don't really remember. I think maybe I was never this type of, because I knew you had to use more than one, and I just remember I remember getting consistent, it started to work and I was like, whoa. And then I don't know, I know watching Live Without a Net definitely helped, because I watched it so much.
Mm-hmm.
You just pick up little things and you go try them. And, I was big into Metallica then. And if anybody wants to start with rhythm guitar, not saying that James Hetfield stuff is easy to play, especially the earlier stuff, those first, when you're talking about Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All, don't start with those ones. Start with Enter Sandman and that type of stuff, just to get playing power chords. Power chords is really where when I started to really get it, you're moving those chords around and then the picking and stuff. Just I don't want to say it came natural, but the more and more you play or do anything, it just starts to make sense, and then that started to happen.
So you're learning to play, you're moving around power chords, you're watching Live Without a Net. What else were you listening to at that time?
Oh my God, Flotsam and Jetsam. Anything really. A lot of the Mr. Big, a lot of that late 80s, early 90s, hard rock, heavy metal stuff. I wasn't really into super duper heavy stuff yet.
Mm-hmm.
That came later, but I do know that And Justice for All was my first dabble into heavy metal, because I was like, that's too heavy. And then once I heard Justice, I was like, whoa, that, it was a big game changer for me as far as, what I was listening to.
Very cool. Back then, what's his name? The guitar player,
James
Kirk Hammett. He was better then than he is now. So those early records, the really,
I think all of them back,
Yeah, but those really early ones, he was good.
Yeah. Well, and just when you listen to Injustice for All, the rhythm playing, James.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say between Justice and Master of Puppets, those two records really got my rhythm playing. Because if you think of Disposable Heroes from Metallica,
mm-hmm.
You're going, and I remember standing in my bedroom, learning that stuff, going, holy crap, that's constant picking, the whole time. And I remember getting up to stamina, and after a while I was like, this is no big deal. I think all guitar players and whatever, you get that, you start playing something that at first you're like, how can I consistently do this? And then you just start to get it.
It boggles my mind how someone like you that has had no formal training, and you probably didn't work with a metronome, right?
Not until years later. I remember John Petrucci talking about a metronome in a Guitar World interview, and I had no idea what he was talking about. Yeah. I had no idea. I wish I did.
But it just boggles my mind to see how well of a guitar player you've become, and just by listening to some of the songs that you've recorded, that your meter is that good and your right hand picking is great. I mean, it's like, forget it. You're an amazing guitar player. It just boggles my mind that with no training other than just picking it up and learning it on your own. It's just amazing.
Maybe the thing is playing to records all the time. I wasn't one of those guys who would just sit in my room and well, I did jam, but most of the times back then I was learning other people's songs. And like I said, you know, the Metallica rhythm playing really got me locked in and tight.
Yeah.
And that definitely has a lot to do with it, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So how much time did you spend learning those playing along to records before you got into a room with other musicians?
Mom and Dad, how I do remember, I mean, every good guitar player has the story of, you know, I'm in my room playing, my friends are outside playing, you know, basketball or football or something, and they're like, Jay, you know, dude, come on, man. And I'm like, sorry, I want to play guitar. And I at the time I was still playing sports, you know, I was playing baseball. My father was always the coach and stuff. And once I started playing guitar and getting a little better, I stopped playing baseball. Not that I didn't like it anymore. I mean, it wasn't as fun, but I knew that I just wanted to, you know, go into baseball practice. It was like, nah, I'd rather sit home and play guitar. But I definitely started playing with my drummer at the time, Anthony, pretty early. I still had the harmony guitar when I was playing with him. So we kind of, you know, I got the guitar and he got the drum kit soon after. I would say like 2 months after, because my birthday is in April. His was June 1st. And I think he got his drum kit for his birthday or something. And we were literally, you know, playing right away, you know, in a room.
That's cool. That's cool. And what kind of music did you start to play? Like what were you jamming on?
Metallica covers. We attempted Van Halen songs, you know, like Pound Cake. You know, we never got to the hard stuff. You know what I mean? But you know, and just making up goofy riffs here and there. You know, I had this reel-to-reel recorder that was my father's when he was younger, and we used to, you know, put up a sign on the door of the room that we, you know, the drums were in at my friend at Anthony's house, recording, you know, and I don't know. It's just funny. I wish I had those tapes still, man. I'm sure they're somewhere, but you know,
that I'd like to hear some of that stuff.
Oh God.
Because you know, once I hear it, it's all over.
Well, the tone, I'm sure the tone alone has got to be god awful. You know, any metalhead guitar player, when they start playing, you know, they got that metal zone scoop.
Oh yeah, there ain't no mids, and you know, guitar lives in the mid range.
I'm trying.
So funny. Let me say hello to a few more people in the chat. Why don't we? We have. Let's see if I can start from where I left off.
Yeah, I see my mother-in-law's in here, Carol Hatcher.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So here we go. Well, Jeannie says Carol Hatcher, Desiree Dorna, my lovely fiance.
Fiance.
Cameron Brown is here. Hello, Cameron. Another fantastic guitar player. Thomas Santiago, JJ's House of Jams, David Scher. Boner Jams is here. Hey, Boner. The old Billy Baru. Hugh Caldwell. I think I called you out earlier. Vistalite 1972. What is it?
Optimus Asshole. That's my drummer and my brother-in-law and one of my closest friends.
Matthew Stewart is here. Guitar Man 45. John BL 5150. Well, if I missed you at all, say hi so I can say hello to you again, please. Right now we have 56 people in the chat.
Not bad.
Yeah. So if you all like what you're hearing, if you like Jay and you like Ty and myself, and you feel if you feel like donating to the cause, you can hit up the virtual tip jar at PayPal at dnrwb5150@aol.com, or my Venmo is also the same thing, dnrwb5150@aol.com. This is not mandatory, but if you feel like reaching into your pockets, we would appreciate it.
Or if you want to reach into my pocket. We got Larry Mitchell in here. I don't know if he was in before, but Larry, we already discussed.
Larry's here. Yes.
Yep. Isn't that cool? You guys are actually interviewing me talking about guitar playing and how I started, and the guy who's virtually responsible for me wanting a guitar is watching this. That's mind blowing right there.
It is.
That's a great story.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So,
all right. So let's get into you started gigging. When did you start gigging? At what age? Or was that after your record came out and you got signed? And
no, we were gigging for a while before that, but
okay.
We were gigging as a 4-piece first. It was me, the old drummer that I was talking about, an older singer, and Chris, our bass player, who's still the bass player now. We were gigging, and our music was kind of a mix. I would say back then it was a mix between. I told you guys on the phone the other day. It was kind of a mix between like Chili Peppers and Creed. You know, we did some talent shows and stuff like that. But hey, Mike Balls is in here. That's the other guitar player.
All right, stay on.
Oh, sorry, I'm getting distracted now. So yeah, we did some local stuff like in the Poughkeepsie, New York area, and like benefit shows. We weren't really anything crazy, but we recorded a demo in '96, I believe it was. And that's when we really were like, we need to play more, and we just get shows around like that, the tri-state area type of thing. It wasn't anything crazy, but just playing music live just instantly was, it was something else, man. It was awesome. But yeah, it was kind of, I don't want to say right away, but probably 96-ish, I would say. 1996. Or was it 94? I can't even remember now, man. Holy crap. 96. Let's just go with 96.
Okay.
And you're writing songs, you're recording a demo. Mm-hmm. When you're playing out, are you playing all originals at this point?
No, we were doing probably maybe Splitsville.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Even Steven. We were doing like some Pearl Jam stuff, which was like, the hot thing at the time, of course,
huge. Yeah,
sure.
Pearl Jam, we were doing some Chili Peppers, maybe a Metallica song here and there. I'm sure we did like a couple of Van Halen things, or at least, like we would do Ain't Talking About Love, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the solo wasn't that difficult to play. So I was like, okay, I can play that, I think.
Cool. Real quick, I just want to give a quick shout out to my good buddy Len Camp, another great Long Island guitar player and singer. Thanks for joining us tonight, Len.
All right, so so you've got your first band here, playing as a 4-piece. When does that begin to transition into what became Gizmachi?
Probably around 97, 98, I want to say. No, it had to be before. Yeah, probably about 97. We got a different singer who was my cousin, and then we started to get a little heavier. And I know, oh no, I'm sorry, I just screwed this whole thing up. I forgot. We got a new drummer who was Jimmy, Optimus Thrice in the chat. We had to get a new drummer. And that's kind of when things we started to get a little heavier, I think, because Jimmy is a huge metal guy. And he was always trying to get us to, get a little heavier, try to throw some harmony stuff in there and push ourselves, I guess you could say. And we definitely got a little more progressive with him. And then when we got Sean, our old singer, that's when it really became like we had to be heavy because, not to say anything negative, but Sean really couldn't sing. So we were really like, all right, we're heavy as shit now. Mm-hmm. So, and plus when I started playing the 7-string guitar, that was it. I was like, okay, now I'm that's it. It was just fun. It was fun playing the other stuff, the lighter stuff. But whenever we would mess around with some heavier stuff, like, we used to mess around with like Rage Against the Machine and stuff. And it was just so much fun playing those heavy groovy things,
Yeah.
So once we got heavier, it got more fun, I think. I want to say.
And so that's when the 7-string made its appearance, when you guys took a left turn, got heavier, more progressive. You started looking for a different type of instrument.
Yeah, I mean, Korn is definitely responsible for that. Hearing that first Korn record came out in '94, but I didn't hear it until '95. And I just remember like seeing those guys like, in Guitar World or whatever, and seeing the video on MTV for Blind. I was like, those guys are playing Universe. Like, I've been as Universe? Holy crap. Now, I explained this to you. I thought at the time that the Universe had a high A string, not a low B string. And I still wonder to this day, if I would have seen that it was a low B, would I have been interested in it earlier, knowing that, that low string. So I don't really know. But I do know that when I saw that, RG 7-string hanging up at Alto Music, and I want to say it was 97, I had to have it. As soon as I put it in my hands, I was like, ooh, this feels right, Yeah,
that's awesome. Speaking of Alto Music, there's a pedal up there that I was thinking about called the Mini Vent. It's like a rotary speaker type thing. They have it.
You have my contact up there, right?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. Very cool stuff. All right, so you got the 7-string guitar. How long did it take you to get it, like understand it and get it?
Well, here's what I did at first. And I get asked for some people about how do you make your way around a 7-string. I can't. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I think you really got to start writing original music on it, or playing songs that are written on a 7. It almost has to become a necessity for you in order to, if you're just going to be playing the same songs you're playing, then it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? It really is an extra. So like now when I play a 6-string, I'm getting my drummer's texting me now. Jimmy, say it in the chat if you want to say something.
Yeah, just for everyone, please, if you have questions for Jay or for Ty or myself, please feel free to ask. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. So what I was doing is, because we had some songs in drop D that we were playing. So basically, I was playing the same songs we were playing, but you playing them on the 7-string, even if it was standard tuned, even drop D, whatever it was. And I'm sure my guitar was going out of tune too. I would just do the fine tuner thing, on the E, drop it to D, whatever. But it started to feel normal to me, And now, like I said, when I pick up a 6-string, it feels like it's missing a string, and when I pick up a 7, it's just like it feels right in my hand. So I think that's the secret. You really have to either play songs that were written on a 7, or start writing material with that low B string, and then it'll start to feel right.
Right on. So Matthew Stewart has the first question of the night. He says 7 over 8. What was your live rig, amps, and pedals?
When I got a serious rig, it was a TC Electronic GeForce was my effects processor, which is amazing. I sold that a few years back, but God, that thing was killer, as the captain would say.
The
captain. And then going into a JMP1, Marshall JMP1 preamp, and then through a Simulclass 290 Mesa Boogie power amp, and then out through a it's behind Ellie's drum kit, but it's a Mesa 4x12 cab back there. That was pretty much it. And it had a what's that floor I told you what it was before, Dave. I can't remember now, man.
The processor?
No, that's the pedal board to change everything. You
got a ground control?
Yes. Yeah, it's a ground control. I still have that.
To Major Tom?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
They still sell those, and I'm sure the firmware has changed, but they look exactly the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those things are great. They really are.
Especially for rack mounted gear like the GeForce. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked really well together.
Cool stuff.
So how did the 7-string guitar influence the rig? How'd your rig change? So you're playing, you get the 7-string, you bring it home to the rig, you learn how you can do some different types of things with this extra string. You've got a drummer in your band that's pushing you into these new, more adventurous directions.
Oh, yeah.
How does that influence the entire chain? So how did that change the rig?
And I'm trying to think what I was even doing, what I was using back then. I know I had like a Crate Voodoo Labs head that obviously I didn't use the distorted channel on it.
Sure.
So I forget at the time what pedals I was running it with. And I think Mike Ball says it. I think we had like the Boss GT6 or the 4 or something at the time. And you know, our tone was not good. I mean, I'll be honest with you.
That being said, for the time at that time, the GT6 was a pretty good.
Yeah,
that was a pretty good. You know, because it was all Roland and Boss stuff. So of all those pedals back then, those multi-pedal boards,
yeah,
that was probably one of the better ones. So you're doing pretty good at the time.
But he says GT3. Okay, whatever the hell I had. But all I know is I didn't change anything at the time. You know, I knew what a good tone was. It sounded great in the bedroom. But then once you get in the band situation, you know, everything gets lost. But I had no friggin' idea what the hell I was doing at the time.
Right.
I wish I knew, you know, all that stuff, you know, a tube amp, you know, I was playing solid state for so long and had no idea about any of that shit.
Sure.
So.
That's how we all start.
Yep.
You know, solid state is where it is, you know?
Yeah. It's a lot cheaper. And I was like,
well,
hey.
yeah, I mean, you know, it's cheaper and you don't know the difference, you know, when you're first starting, you don't know that tube amps are, you know, first of all, louder, they sound better, they act better, they don't break down as much.
Yep.
You know, back then you don't know that. You just go for, oh my God, this lamp has got the best distortion.
Yeah, well, the first amp that I had, like real amp that I had, was a Crate. It was like a 2x10. It had the felt, you know, cover on it, and I thought it was the best sounding thing on the planet, man. You know, you're in the music store and you're like, chin, chin, you know, you hear that thing woofing the floor and you're like, oh, that's awesome. You know, because I used to scoop the shit out of it.
Yeah. And then you get into a live situation. You're like, where'd my guitar go?
Well, that's what everybody would say. Yeah, dude, we can't even hear your goddamn guitars. It sounds like a gnat's flying around the stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Mike Ball says, ain't nothing wrong with solid state. Okay.
You say so. Well, no, I got to give Balls credit. He had a knack for dialing in his Boss effects unit. You know, he did run it through his Simulclass 290 power amp though, so it still was getting tube saturation because he stopped using the JMP1 on tour. It probably broke down because everything Mike had broke down. It's funny to me because I was there experiencing every time it would happen. You know,
BV's got a question. He says, Jay, how long did it take to get comfortable with your muting skills on the 7-string? You were talking about palm muting earlier.
Instantly, it felt bigger and more massive. It wasn't, you know, the weird thing is just getting, you know, the muscle memory. You know, when you're playing a 6-string guitar, that low string is the 6th string, and it's just everything feels normal. But once you add a lower string, you know, on top of that, you're like, whoa, what is going on? It's not just the left hand either; it's the right hand.
Sure.
So it just feels, you know, and obviously, you know, the neck is wider. So it's just it's just like anything though. It's getting used to something. And like I said, whenever I pick up a 6-string now, it feels like it's missing a string.
Yeah. Brian the Song Guy has a question for me. He says, can you take off all your strings on a Wolfgang special with a Floyd, or do you have to restring them one by one? You can do it either way. I always take all my strings off, clean the fretboard, clean the frets. You clean the guitar that way. If the Floyd Rose comes off the springs in the back, you put the springs back on and put the strings on. That's all. It's not a big deal. It's not going to break.
Yeah, if that bridge is resting on the body, you can take them all off.
Oh, even if it's floating. I do on floating bridges as well. You know, you just get the knack after a while, you get the knack for figuring out, where it needs to be to get it right in tune. And yeah, you got to tune it several times, but it's all right. It's a part of the fun of changing strings.
Yeah, the fun of
Absolutely.
changing strings.
Yeah. John Mancuta's here. Hey, John.
Jay, Matthew Stewart says, did you ever try Mesa rectifiers?
Yes. I felt the one I tried, it sounded great, don't get me wrong. I don't know how to say this, but it wasn't tight enough. I don't know. It was a little too loose. Maybe it was the version of the Recto, because I believe the new Gizmochi album that's going to come out, I believe the mix engineer, Mark Lewis, reamped it with a dual rectifier, but it was like the Revision G or something like that. It was like the most sought after and rare Recto that he used. And at first I was like, using a rectifier? Like, I love them, but I just thought for our music, they didn't really work. And when he sent back the DI, the reamped track for me to listen to, and the rest of the guys heard it too, and they were like, yeah, that sounds awesome. I'd love to have one, but I just don't.
So getting back to your timeline, Jay, it's the late 90s. You guys have reimagined the band. You're writing new songs. You're playing 7 strings. Things are getting heavier for you musically. You're out playing. I'm assuming you're out showcasing.
I don't know about showcasing yet, but yeah, we were playing gigs. But I do know that one of the main things, because Mike Balls wasn't in the band then, we got him in the band because, we got some other guitar players in. We just wanted to have, 2 guitar players a little bit heavier. I wasn't really weird about it, So I know when Mike got in the band, we knew he could sing and he had a melodic voice, and we wanted to add that kind of back into the band. And he was the one that finally ended up singing. He was very reluctant on it, even though he could sing. But finally, we kind of talked him into it. And that's one thing. Like, our music is heavy, but there is a melodic aspect to it when you get to those parts. There are the parts in there. You got to find them sometimes. But, I wouldn't want to play in a band that's just balls to the wall screaming the whole time. I like both. I like the screaming stuff, and I like the melodic vocals, the hooks, that can't bring you in like, oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff.
Larry Mitchell has a question. He says, Jay, how did you get into drum programming?
Oh, it's funny you say that. I would say that I finally got into that probably around when we started writing the new Gizmochi album back in 2006. I got, at the time, it was just Drum Kit from Hell. It wasn't Superior Drummer yet. And I just remember needing something to program drums to write riffs, when we couldn't have band practice and stuff. I'm like, hey, I still want to write stuff. So that's basically how I just got the Superior Drum Kit from Hell, started writing drum beats, and that was pretty much it, And then I know I've had a lot of help from Jimmy, Optimus Thrice, in the chat, because he's taught everybody in the band a lot of stuff about like dynamics and like rhythms and stuff like that. And I think he almost turned me from thinking like a guitar player into thinking like a drummer now. Like, I
honestly
listen to music now, and I mostly listen for the drums, and I think that's pretty much where it started with that stuff. And now, I got some compliments on some stuff that I've done. I know Cameron Brown, I did drum programming for his latest single, and he had some people asking like, dude, who's the drummer and where'd you track those drums at? Cameron's like, dude, I almost don't want to tell him that it's programmed drums. I'm like, yeah, but it'll help me if you tell people that I did it.
Yeah. There's a few questions in the chat. Matthew Stewart says, if and when you play live again, will you be using the JMP1 or a Kemper?
if we were to go out now, I'd probably use the Kemper. Actually, shit, I don't know, man. I just don't want to lug a big road case. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would imagine it would depend on, cartage, if they're going to, pay you for cartage or if you have to pay your own way.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Fractal AX8. Fractal AX8. Psst, Fractal AX8.
Nah, I'm not a huge Fractal guy.
Larry.
I know Larry is.
Close your ears, Larry.
I know.
Ben Coombe says, are there plans to promote the new record?
Yes, there are plans. The only issue, and that's a great question. I know if there's anybody that's a longtime fan of Gizmochi, they know that our album has been in waiting for a while. And the controversial thing is that we launched a Kickstarter campaign in 2012 with the intention of releasing that album later that year. It never happened. There's multiple reasons for it. I don't want to point fingers. I don't want to have anybody take blame. Everybody's to blame. How about that? Didn't happen. A lot of things got in the way. And long story short, we ended up having to, for whatever reason, getting Bjorn from Soilwork to do the vocals on it. Because Mike Balls obviously sings on it as well, but the main vocalist, we needed somebody to do it. That took some time. So we finally got that done. Album gets finished, gets mixed, and this happens. Corona.
Mm-hmm.
So, we had some, talks about it with the band, like, hey, should we just release the album anyway during this? And right now, I mean, the music industry, you guys know this, the music industry is basically on hold right now.
Yep.
All industries.
I mean, if we wanted to put it out, the only way we'd be able to release it right now is just putting it online, and saying, here, have it. Like, we can't get the CDs pressed. We can't do any promotion for it unless it's our own promotion. So we really have to wait for everything to kind of pick back up.
Yeah.
For it to happen, but it is done. I mean, if you want, I'll play some of the shit on here tonight.
You're more than welcome to. If there's something, if there are parts you want us to hear, that'd be great. Hugh Caldwell is a great question. He says, Dave Nesdall, is there a brand of strings that makes 7 strings that Jay has not tried yet but would like to?
I can't really say that there is. I mean, I've tried multiple strings, DR, which I like. I was actually with Labella Hard Rock and Steels for a little while when we first got signed and started touring, because they're out of Newburgh as well. Literally 10 minutes from my house was the factory. So I remember I got brought up to the factory and I got to walk through and how they're making the strings, and I'm like, this is great. This is awesome. So after a year, I probably shouldn't say any of this, but you know what? Whatever. What have I got to lose? Things didn't work out with Labella, and kind of something was promised and didn't happen.
All right, so it was
it
was a monetary thing.
Yeah, I was getting screwed all of a sudden, and next thing you know, I tried D'Addario, and I've tried D'Addario before, and I liked them, but whatever. So I got with D'Addario, and they were great, and pretty much used them ever since. And I don't have an endorsement with them or anything, but I still use them.
Larry Mitchell wants to know the gauge that you use.
9, 11, 16, 26, 36, 46, 56.
Very cool.
So what is it? Light, heavy, what is it? You guys know.
Light top, heavy bottom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
I,
on the other hand, like
what?
on the other hand, like light bottom, heavy top. All right. BV Ninja says, Dave Nesdall for Jay, mixing your band. Do you take the mids out of the bass bottoms? Oh, I lost it. Damn it. And the highs feature more. Hang on. Why don't I do this?
There we go.
Read it.
Okay, mixing your band. Do you take the mids out of the bass bottoms and highs feature more so the guitars have more room for? So I actually didn't end up mixing the Gizmochi record, the new one. I was going to, but I was being torn in 4 different directions. Well, 5 different directions if you include me. And then I just was second guessing every move I was making. You know what I mean? And, I can hear when a band sends me a song or a demo, like, hey, we want you to mix this. The first time I listen to it, I already kind of can visualize or hear the way certain things are going to end up sounding or the way I'd like them to sound. And I can already visualize it. You know what I mean? But with our music, of course, I know what I want it to sound like, but I was just like, I was all over the place and driving myself nuts and driving my wife nuts, and the rest of the band as well. So we came up to the decision to get somebody else to mix it. But I will give you my bass tip. What I do is I take the DI bass track, I double it, I duplicate it. So I have two identical bass tracks. One, you pretty much can leave, unprocessed for the most part, but I compress the shit out of it. You're going to EQ a couple things. You scoop some mids out of that one, but that one's going to handle the low end. And then I make another one, a distorted bass track, and just blend it in. And that one's going to have the mids in it because you don't have mids in your distorted bass. It doesn't have the same. It doesn't cut through as much. But that's kind of what I do. Double the bass track. Because if you have everything in one track and you compress it, then the highs are compressed with it, and it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do. If that makes any goddamn sense.
It does. Yeah. It does. Your rig. Let's talk about the amp settings real quick. Now, do you generally still have that scooped mid sound, or at least less scooped, but still kind of without the mids, or do you really push the mids on your tone?
I wouldn't say I push them drastically, but I definitely have them, because otherwise they just get lost.
Mm-hmm.
They really do.
Good. Very good.
Michael Collins, how do you get the "And Justice for All" bass sound? Well, what was it again? It was, okay, you hear the bass. Okay, drop it to where you can barely hear it. And then
drop it again.
And then turn it down another 3 dB or 7 dB, whatever supposedly Lars said. That's how you get the "And Justice for All" bass sound.
It's very funny.
What a shame, man. What a goddamn shame to that record.
That's too bad, because that's the best part of the record.
Well, let's not get nuts, but if you listen to when they came out a couple years ago, they did the 30th anniversary reissue of that.
Mm-hmm.
So they remastered. I was hoping they were going to remix it, but they would end up cocking it up anyway if they remixed it. But later on, like on the special edition, they have I think rough mixes, or the whatever the hell they call them, of the whole album, every song. And every song, the bass is in there, man, and it sounds awesome. So if you get a chance, check out the reissue or the remastered 30th anniversary of Justice, and check out those rough mixes, because they sound, man, that album's heavy as shit without bass. It's like hold on to your seats, heavy with that bass in there.
I'll have to listen to that.
Mm-hmm. No, you won't.
So Jay, you guys got quite a bit of traction with your 05 album, 04, 05 album.
05, yeah. Actually, it's funny. Tomorrow is the 15th anniversary of the release of that album.
Congratulations.
Yes, congrats.
So you got quite a bit of traction on that record. How long did it take you to write that record? Any memories you want to share from recording that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the majority of that stuff, see, you know how they always say you have your whole life to write your first album and like a few months or a year to write your second? I would say,
in your case, you had a little longer.
No, well, yeah, but I would say the entirety of that album was probably written, man, maybe 98, 99 is when the writing started. So yeah, I guess that's long enough. Dave's got to drop a deuce. That's long enough, I guess. Probably 5-6 years. And If anybody's listened to our music, you'll notice that it's very like rhythm oriented. A lot of the stuff, it's syncopated with the drums.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of people do ask like how we write some of the stuff. A lot of the riffs, man, the first idea is Jimmy, the drummer, playing a cool drum beat and us just playing a riff to it. And that's how a lot of those riffs are. I mean,
so you guys were writing the songs together then?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, obviously every once in a while, somebody would come to band practice with like a riff or something like, hey, what do you think of this? And then, you know, it just kind of catches fire. But you know, one of the great things about writing with, especially the guys that in the band, is there was, you know, obviously, you know, sometimes tensions get high of like, hey, I don't like that part, or I like, come on, let's put this part in there. But we had a knack of, you know, it would take us a while to write songs because, I mean, some of the songs, if you see the track listings, you know, 7 minutes long, 6 minutes, whatever. But we had a pretty good knack of kind of like once, you know, an intro and verse are kind of written, we all kind of got into a groove of like the songs would almost like we almost knew what was going to happen next in the song before it was even written. It was like we all had an idea of where we wanted to go with it, you know, and then somebody would come up with something like, yeah, that right there. And then what about this? And it was a very like organic thing that, you know, for the most part, that's how a lot of that stuff happened. See, look, I should get Balls in here because he knows exactly when everything. No, Balls. I think Ty was talking about the first record. When was the first record written?
Do you want him in here?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Guitar Man 45. The name of the band is Gizmachi.
JBV Ninja has something for you.
Oh, I asked the bass mix question because Korn took the mids out to feature the heavy bass bottom plus bass highs to have space for the guitars. Yeah, because there is a lot of frequency fighting in, especially in metal, because everything's so dense. Well, Korn's bass sound. I mean, I'd never be able to achieve that. I mean, that is a special, very unique bass sound. You know, it's personally, I wouldn't want that on my record. You know what I mean? But it fits what they did really, really well. So, yeah. Yeah, but
everybody was frequency fighting.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Matthew Stewart wants to push us along to Ozfest. So you make the record. You get some. Well, you know, how'd you get the record, Jay? I mean, how did the process of actually sitting down and getting signed, because it was an imprint of Sanctuary, right? So I mean, you're on a big label.
Here's the promo copy too. I didn't even realize that. Look, it's got the dot, the hole punched in the
punch out, cut out. Yeah.
All right. I'll start with. I guess I'll start with that. So when we were doing all this stuff, recording demos and recording, you know, whatever, or the music, our old singer Sean, you know, he was definitely the one going out and doing the groundwork and getting in people's faces like, hey, you're going to listen to this stuff. So probably around the time of 2003 or 4, maybe 2003, Slipknot or something was playing in New York City or whatever. Yeah, Balls, I'll get to the Easter Sunday thing in a minute. I'll get to that. That's a pretty cool story. He tracked Sean or Clown from Slipknot down and said, hey, here's my band's demo. Didn't hear anything. So the next time Slipknot came through, same thing. Hey, here's our new demo. Listen to it. He like would literally track the guy down. And I think maybe after the second time or third time of like finding him and saying, you're going to listen. Next thing you know, like he's in contact with him because Clown loved the fact that he wasn't taking no for an answer. You know, and at the time we probably weren't ready for a deal yet. And, you know, we pretty much got told that you guys aren't ready, but we see potential or we hear potential, whatever. So a lot of stuff was going on. And I'd say right in the middle of Easter, beginning of April in 2004, the band was kind of getting a little frustrated. You know, we're kind of doing the same thing, playing the same places. And it was getting frustrating. And I think we didn't have band practice for like 2 weeks or something crazy. Like I think a couple of us were like, what's the point? It just was feeling weird, But the hunger all of a sudden went away. So we get a phone call, and it's our singer, Sean. And he's like, hey, Easter Sunday, Clown's going to be in New York City. We have to rent out SIR Studios and do a showcase for him and Sanctuary Records. Now we didn't practice. Mike said it was longer than 2 weeks. Maybe it was. He's my fact checker tonight, so I should have him on a little thing.
Yeah, he's your producer.
Yeah,
producer.
So,
he's the producer.
So maybe it was longer than 2 weeks. We didn't play. We didn't play for a while, and all of a sudden we get that phone call. And he's like, hey, Clown's going to be in New York City. He wants us to rent out SIR Studios on Easter Sunday. And he's going to come watch. And now the kicker was, I end up talking to Clown, I think, that night that I got that phone call. I forget. Mike, do you remember how many days? Yeah, now I'm going to ask him for everything. Son of a bitch. How many days it was we had to kind of prepare for this? Because I know that I got off the phone. I got a phone call from Clown that night that, we got told about the showcase, and he was like, Jay, this is the first time I ever talked to the guy. He's in Slipknot. He's this huge rock star. Like, holy crap. We're going to showcase for him. So I'm all in a good mood. Next thing you know, he's on the phone with me. Hey, you guys start playing. I'll walk in. If I don't like what I see, I don't like what I hear, I'm leaving. And I'm like, holy shit. Okay. Talk about added pressure. You know what I mean? Not only are you showcasing for somebody, but he's telling you that if you guys aren't on, as soon as I walk in the joint, I'm out. And I was like, all right. So the next day we call up SIR Studios. Well, they're closed on Easter. So now all of a sudden we had to pay extra for SIR to open up, and we had to pay for somebody to be there to set everything up, the mics and get the room ready and all that stuff. And Jeannie says I have no concept of time. It's true. It's true. And it was just one of those experiences where, like, going to the whole thing, everybody was nervous and all that stuff, but it ended up being a really cool experience. Easter Sunday, doing a showcase for Clown and somebody, Corey Brennan was the guy from Sanctuary, that one of the heads of Sanctuary who was there. And somebody else. And it was actually really cool. Like, Clown wasn't, I think the guy he was talking to me like on the phone was basically just like kind of letting us know, like, I'm just going to bust your balls a little bit, But it was a really cool experience. But we got told then, like, hey, we like it, but you guys still need a little more time, to kind of like mature a little bit. And it kind of carried on for the rest of the year. And Chris is saying we had a week to prep for it. Yeah, we had a week after not playing for X amount of whatever it was, we had a week to prep for our showcase. But we kind of just kept at it after that, and kept checking in with Clown and Sanctuary. And then finally we got a show with Slipknot and Slayer and, God forbid, in Albany, New York later that year. Like the Aggressive Music Festival, I think it was called. So we got to open up the show with all those kick-ass bands. And that was the final kind of like, okay, if you guys nail this, we'll sign you. And the awesome thing was we had Slipknot's sound guy doing our sound for the show, because Clown wanted to hear us. He's like, I'm gonna have my guy do your sound for the show. And I will say that we crushed it. Like, we got on stage, and that was the one where we were like, we got to take this. This is our final chance. If we go up here in front of Slayer and Slipknot, and I forget how many thousands of people were in the crowd, this is our last chance. So we knew that we had to go balls to the wall and nail it. And I guess we did, because next thing you know, we got signed, and when we tracked the album. So
that's great. That's a good story.
That's cool. So you track the album, it gets released. How much marketing did the label put behind the record?
Well, there's, there's one article or a magazine. I forget what the first one is. I can't find it now, of course. But we were in, here's a little bit of Hit Parader. So
Wow.
Full page in that on us. There's my stupid mug. There's Balls with the fro next to me. There's Chris with the mohawk, and there's Jimmy, and then there's Sean. So there's a full page on that. This was July 2005. So the album was out for what, 2 months, something like that.
How many copies of that do you have?
Just one. I'm sure my in-laws, Jimmy's parents, probably have friggin' 50 copies. And then we were in Guitar World.
Oh, I think I have that copy as well.
So there's it's just a tiny little,
Yeah. And to have that in Guitar World, that you should be happy.
That's cool.
Yeah, I actually went to the store to buy that one the morning it came out. I was pumped. Walking into Barnes and Noble in Newburgh, like people are gonna recognize me. Walking around the store. Hey, this is me. Hey, this is me. No, I wasn't doing that shit. And then I got another one here. This is in Revolver, June 2005. We had a half-page promo for the album. And there's other ones. I can't find them, or they're whatever. But that's cool to have some stuff like that,
I'd say.
Definitely is.
Yeah. That's very cool.
The night, at midnight, actually, my wife's watching downstairs. So May 7th, 2005, me and she was my girlfriend at the time, but my wife now, went to Walmart, and at midnight, we purchased the album, which was like a really cool experience to go to a store, an actual store, and buy your album. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
That's really incredible.
Yeah.
That's, a lot of people only wish to have what you had.
Yeah.
And you still have it. I mean, you got a second record coming out.
But I mean, is this dinging too much for you guys? I should have put this on mute. I don't care.
I just think we're on the Discord every time it rings.
Sorry. I mean, obviously maybe I should get into the negative stuff now, but I just remember that time period. I'll give a couple stories from the studio. I do remember when we were mixing the record, like when we were recording the record, guys from the label were coming down, and it was like a huge, I don't want to say party, because it wasn't. We were never that type of band, but it was all like fun, and everybody was like, oh yeah, everybody's your best friend. And when the album was being mixed, I remember one of the guys from the label was in there. I don't want to say his name. The guys in the band know exactly what I'm going to say. But the chorus to the song "Blood Wine" is playing on the speakers, on the monitors, and the guy's up on the board, and he's like, "It's going to be a huge record. It's going to be a fucking huge record." And I'm sitting there like literally 3 feet from the guy, like thinking to myself, like, "Oh my God!" Like he thinks this is going to be huge, And then we go on tour, and we were in California on tour with oh shit, who the hell were we with, man? God, my memory is so shitty. OTEP. We were on tour with OTEP. You guys know who that is?
Oh yeah.
So the album came out because we had to leave for tour like literally a day or two after it came out, or it was some shit. We had to go all the way to California. So the album comes out, and you know how they do like the first week sales, which is like huge. The record industry takes that first week sales shit really, really seriously. If you don't fly off the shelves the first week, they start to kind of like, whatever. So anyway, we get the email or the phone call, after the week one sales, and it was like, I want to say it was like 600 or 800 copies. And I got to tell you, the phone calls weren't as frequent. You know, the free tickets to get into concerts, well, they weren't happening anymore. You know, like you're getting people's answering machines all of a sudden, and things changed pretty effing quick with that type of stuff. And I know that we went over to Europe and did like the Download Festival and all that stuff. And I have a lot of the backstage passes from that stuff. You know, like Rock Am Ring and all that stuff.
That's cool.
But it was a great experience. But I know that one show we played over there, which we knew it wasn't a good show. We didn't play that well. It was like 1 PM, and it just one of those shows. The vibe wasn't there, you know. So Kerrang! Magazine, who you guys know, is especially in Europe, a very huge metal magazine.
Very influential.
Yes.
Yep.
They did a review on that show, and they slammed the shit out of it. So remember, we had to go, like, after we got back from Europe, we had to go to the label for a meeting. And I'll give you a little bit of label insight for anybody who thinks the music industry is the greatest thing and all this stuff. We were never a real, like, you know, wear certain things on stage and look a certain way. We just were like, you know, whatever. It's just how we look. We don't do anything crazy. We don't want to look like rock stars. You know what I mean? So anyway, we get back from that thing and we go into the meeting, and literally they're telling us that, like, we'd like you guys to kind of change your image a little bit and, you know, wear some of the stuff that maybe some of the other bands are wearing, you know, the tighter clothes and this and that, you know. And me and the singer had dreadlocks at the time, and they want us to, like, you know, change our hair and do all this crap. And I was pissed. I was like, I can't act like, I can't try to be somebody else. Like, you know, like, I understand to a certain extent, but to me, it just felt like it wasn't real. And I think that was the wake up call for me, realizing that the record industry is kind of, you know, like, yeah, they're your friends when everything's going great, but, you know, when things aren't really going as well as maybe they thought, you know, they try to dig their daggers in to kind of change you a little bit to make you, you know,
more appetizing to the public.
Yeah, because I understand image is a big thing. I totally get it. You know, I mean, everybody wanted to wear those parachute pants that Eddie Van Halen was wearing back in '86. I mean,
not everybody.
I'm just, you know,
but you can't. You know what? I know you're just saying that, but you honestly, you can't compare yourself to Eddie Van Halen. You just can't. He's been a household name since before.
I know. Eddie can go on stage in jeans and a t-shirt and
play a big yellow banana with one string on it, and he's still, oh my God.
I know.
You know?
I know. And I know somebody told me one time, like, look, you have to, you know, you can do what you want, but you have to separate yourself from the people in the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, if you look like them, then you are them, type of thing. And I'm like, well, that is me, you know, like. So it's a weird thing, man. And I know the music industry changed a lot and stuff, but
yeah,
you know.
Now, what were they doing, Jay? Were they were they getting ready to put you out on tour? Were they trying to reposition you before they put you?
No, we were in the middle of a touring cycle.
Okay.
And like I said, we had just gotten back from Europe and we were going right back out again. And I think they were just worried, like, you know, we got slammed in one of the biggest metal magazines. And I guess they just want us to have maybe a little cooler of an image, maybe. I don't know. You know, I understand it now, but I wasn't wearing tight pants and I wasn't getting my hair cut, you know, with a slick, you know, comb over. Like, that was cool at the time. I wasn't doing that type of stuff.
Got it.
Well,
Well, we've got a few people encouraging us to get to some Ozfest stories. So where does Ozfest fit into this timeline?
Ozfest was the summer of 2005, and it was probably, you know, the best summer of my life. Probably everybody in the band for the most part.
And this is before you went to Europe or after you went to Europe?
After.
Okay.
Yeah, it was after we got back from Europe.
Okay.
Yeah, it was after. Yep.
So you had the big learning experience in Europe. You had the big, you know, episode with Kerrang, and now you're heading out. So how do you get the call for Ozfest? Do you have somebody at the label working for you?
Yeah. The way a lot of those festivals worked is that you had to basically the label had to buy on to the tour.
Yeah.
They weren't just like, hey, do you want to come out? Okay.
Right.
No, the labels had to pay for the bands to go out.
Do you want to talk about that for a little bit? I don't know that everybody understands that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the headliners like Iron Maiden and obviously Black Sabbath, whatever, they're not going to pay. They're going to be paid to come out. But most of the, especially the second stage bands, the not huge bands, you're not getting paid to go on that tour. You're paying for the exposure of being on the biggest metal tour of the year.
Right.
So I know how much our label put up for that. And it wasn't just the tour, it was the bus as well. We ended up splitting or sharing a bus with Trivium. So that was that too. So, it was definitely an awesome experience. I'll say that. But where the hell was it? Oh, so Ozfest, there was something happening. I remember on Blabbermouth reading all the time that Ozfest was all booked. Here are the bands for it. But there's one secret band or unnamed band that's a surprise band that's going to be on Ozfest. And I remember reading the message boards and shit like that. And people were pumped, listing all these huge bands. Like, is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? Is it going to be Slipknot? Is it going to, all these big bands? And then we get a phone call one morning and it's like, hey, you guys are the surprise band. And of course I was pumped, but then when you see it posted, all those people that were expecting a huge band, they're like, who are these guys? Like, your surprise band is a band that nobody's really heard of before. So a lot of people were pissed, man.
I can understand that, but you know what? It's good. It's also good that a not as well-known band was like being pushed like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God, now that's a way to generate more ticket sales. Cause I mean, maybe some people can see it as bait and switch, but I think of it as like, well, all right, I don't know this band, but man, they're good, and that's how,
Mm-hmm. Well, that was, a lot of great things happened on that tour and a lot of weird things happened on that tour. I was talking to guys the other day about it. We kind of felt, for at least personally, I'm not going to speak for the other guys, but I think personally for a while on that tour, we were playing with a lot of bands that we looked up to, and like we're fans of, before we even, did anything.
Yeah. And
I feel like personally, I felt like a lot of people maybe looked at us as like, these guys didn't really earn it yet, and we were kind of like the low man on the totem pole. And I felt weird for a while, but I think maybe halfway through Ozfest, we really started to hit our stride and get a lot of people's attention and respect on that tour, but it was definitely a weird thing, but
that's cool. That's cool.
Hanging out with Will Smith. That's right. Jada Pinkett's band, Wicked Wisdom, was on that tour, and every show it was the same lineup, but we'd alternate. Like if you played the last set on the second stage one day, you're the first set the next day, and then you're the second set, and then the third set, and then you kind of flip like that. So every day they were the band that was playing before us, which was awesome. So there was a time when Will came out. I think Will Smith came out for like a week or two on that tour. And, I always tell people that when you watch like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like that's how he was. Like he obviously wasn't being a goofball, but like, like talking to him, BSing with him backstage, he was like the normal dude. Like it was super. I remember there was one show we were playing and I was backstage tuning that guitar that's sitting right over there. And the sun was getting hot. And you know what happens when cool morning, hot morning, so all of a sudden things start not staying in tune. So I'm like freaking out backstage because we have like 5 minutes before we're going on, So I'm like tuning this. I'm like, this fucking thing ain't staying in tune. He's standing literally like right next to me and we're like kind of shooting the shit a little bit, but I'm worried about my guitar. I'm like, I want to sit here and BS with Will Smith, but I'm worried about my guitar and going on stage with it being out of tune.
That's respectable.
Yeah. but it was cool.
So let me ask you this: did you not have more than one guitar on the road with you?
I did.
You had to have, right?
Yeah, had
And no tech. You did it all yourself.
No, we had a tech, Mark Lewis, who ended up mixing our new record, who's a huge metal engineer nowadays. He was our guitar tech. I will say this though. I didn't really want anybody touching my guitars. You know, I knew how I wanted them. I knew that I had to tune the low B string a little bit flat to get it right. And I just knew the tendencies of my guitar. And I was used to tuning my guitars before that. Like, it wasn't a big deal to me. You know, I kind of felt uncomfortable letting somebody else do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe if we would have kind of caught fire and needed that stuff, it would have been a different story.
Right.
But we had text and everything like that, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really utilize.
I want to give a quick shout out and hello to Johnny Bean, the guy that started this all. Johnny Bean's in the house.
Hey, Johnny.
Hey, Johnny. Larry Mitchell says, Jay, he says, hi, Jay, I almost did tour with you. That would have been cool.
When? Am I missing something?
Maybe it was the Jada story.
I don't know.
Yeah, Larry says Jada.
Wait, what?
Oh, looks like we're going to have to get Larry on here to explain.
Oh,
Anyway,
wow. Yeah.
until we get a little more from Larry.
Yeah, I got to hear that.
Yeah, let's backtrack just a little bit. When did you get your Ibanez endorsement, and how'd that happen?
Oh man, that's actually pretty funny too. At least I do. I think it's funny. I think everything's funny. You guys know that. So me and Mike, the other guitarist, we already played Ibanez. You know, like that's basically all we played. You know, because they were the ones that had the 7-string guitars at the time, so there wasn't really that many other options. I think. What other company? Maybe Jackson was another company that kind of started after Ibanez, but we were already playing Ibanez. So after we got signed, before the album came out and everything, we, you know, our label, whatever, put a call into Ibanez and said, you know, these guys would like to play your guitars. So they sent out Mike Taft, who I'm still buddies with to this day. Great guy. We were texting about video games 2 nights ago, but he came out to the shore. We played the New England Metal Fest, and God, it was a fucking horrible show. I didn't know the guy at the time. All we heard is, "Hey, we're sending a rep out to check you guys out." So as soon as we start playing, I didn't have this guitar yet. It was that one. I thought I broke a string, but it wasn't. It was just a high E string getting stuck underneath, you know, the pickup. But I don't notice that. I think I broke a string, right? So in the middle of a song, I go grab another guitar off the guitar rack. Well, a song or two later, the low B string gets stuck, or something happens to the other guitar. So I go grab Mike's backup. So I'm like, I completely botched this endorsement thing. You know, that's what I'm thinking the whole time. Like, I totally botched it. There's no way Ibanez is endorsing us. You know, I just freaking screwed up 3 guitars, or I'm playing, you know. But I guess it came out later that, like, yeah, stuff was happening, but I kept pulling Ibanez after Ibanez after Ibanez off the guitar rack. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember them, like, me hearing that, like, yeah, stuff was happening with your guitars, but you kept pulling out Ibanez guitars, so it was kind of cool. So, you know, next thing you know, we get the thing faxed to us or mailed, whatever the hell, and yeah, Ibanez endorsed us, but only for a couple of years, and then the new album never came out, and they were like, Mike was like, Jay, the album has to come out for us to continue, you know, working with you guys. Like, when the album comes out, let me know and we'll bring you back. But then the album never came out, so here we are.
Well, the album's coming out, so you should get in contact with them and say, "Hey, Mike Taft said this."
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, back in 2007, Mike Taft said that you'll bring us back when the album comes out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they'll love that.
Or actually, what you should do is you should go to Nags and tell them to make a 7-string for you with a Floyd.
You think anybody will put a low pro on their guitar besides that? Anyway, so that's the Ibanez gig. But I still, I still love them. They play great.
Awesome, good stuff. Any other questions in the chat? In the viewer comment bin?
We got 75 watching.
75 people watching at the moment. Yeah. Mike Ball says yes, and we played Ibanez guitars when only Satch and Vi were playing them. That's right. Actually, Larry Mitchell was playing them too.
Yes, and like I said, is it on this? How Larry on the back of the album, when I saw how he put his guitar pick there, I was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. And I started doing that.
And you nicked it.
Oh, I totally nicked it.
Nicked it.
And Dave, thanks again, man, for these guitar picks.
You're very welcome. And thank you, Larry, for giving them actually, back then I was working for him as his tech and I nicked them.
I'm still trying to get him to send me. I want this jacket. I want that jacket, Larry.
I'm sure he still has it within arm's reach.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know how stupid I look with that thing on.
Especially in the summertime.
Yeah. Summertime.
Oh, it's so funny. Let's see. All right, so Ozfest.
Yep.
What happens after Ozfest?
Oh crap. We just went on other tours. I mean, it wasn't.
So you kept on going. It wasn't just Ozfest and you guys were done.
No. We kept going.
Okay, good. Very good.
Yeah, we were on tour basically from before the album came out. Because we went to Europe as well. The shitty thing was they sent us to Europe. We left a tour, a great tour, to go over to Europe. Well, the stupid thing is that the album didn't come out in Europe until the day we left Europe. So we went over to Europe and nobody had any idea who we were. The album wasn't out yet, so there was no, you know what I mean? It was one of those things. It was like terribly thought out and planned by the record label. They should have sent us over to Europe the next year, like in 2006 or something they should have done. But I mean, obviously, hindsight's 20/20. Things happen. But no, we just, caught on other tours. We did some Mushroom Head tours, which were super fun and super great. The thing that kind of derailed us for a little while was Jimmy, our drummer, had wrist issues. It's something called Decor vein syndrome. I don't know if anybody knows this. Drummers might know it. It's not carpal tunnel. But what it is like in his right hand, I believe, left hand, there's the sheath or something that goes through, or the tendon that goes through, and it rubs. And he was having problems holding the drumstick when he was playing. Mm-hmm. So he had to literally bow out for a while. So we got another drummer in, did a lot of tours with him as well. But I'd say near the end of 2006, it kind of ended as far as the touring stuff. We did a couple gigs in 2007, but then we got another drummer. He ended up leaving. And for a while, it was like, what are we going to do? We can't find a drummer, But, this is a whole long story in there, and I don't want to bore everybody with it. But long story short, we had all this music basically written, a lot of it written. So a few years later, we discussed it, and we're like, let's just do the album. Jimmy will come back on drums. And we ended up recording everything, and, a lot of stuff was written or recorded in 2010. And here we are in 2020, and the album's not out yet.
Well, you released a single last month.
Yeah. Before we get into that, Thomas Lorino has a great question. He says, if you had to play another guitar brand, what would it be?
Right now, well, last year, remember, I was, I don't want to get into that. No, I got a buddy, Cameron Brown, who has been telling me and convincing me to try a Sir guitar.
You wouldn't go wrong with a Sir, I'll tell you. I don't know if they make a 7-string yet.
You got to get a custom. They do, but you got to actually custom order it. You can't. They don't have them like laying around. And
I think that would be exactly what you would like, because I know how you are with your guitars.
Mhm.
I know how very picky you are, and you're pretty damn picky, which is not a bad thing when it comes to what you want. But the Sir brand, and I'm going to bring Nags up again. Nags and John Sir and Tom Anderson. All those small boutique custom companies, I think if they put a 7-string in your hand, you would absolutely go berserk over it.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Nags are great. It's just the one model that I really like is the Steve Stevens. You know, that's that hot rod style looking guitar. Like I like the Super Strat, you know, that style of guitar. So
well, you can get a Severn. You can get get a Severn with hum single hum from them.
I don't want the single.
Huh?
I don't want the single.
Well, you can get it 2 humbuckers. You can get it any way you want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But no, I've only played one Sir in my life, and that was in 2000. When was that? 2014, 15, something like that. And it wasn't a top of the line Sir, and it felt amazing. But I never really gave him another thought after that.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're great.
Who knows, man? I mean, I'm loving the Ibanez right now, even though they can care less who I am. But still, you know, I have enough guitars right now. So
really,
I know. No, he's been in my ear last couple of days, and he sent me a
oh my gosh,
he sent me a link to a Sir guitar builder, a website like Matt's Music or something.
Yeah.
So I'll show you. I got on there. He's like, dude, you know, design a guitar. I'm like, why? And the next thing you know, I'm down the damn rabbit hole, and I'm designing. Look at this thing. What do you guys think of this? If I can get it to
what is it? Pink with blue pickups?
No, it's actually not pink.
Yeah, that's very
It's a
cool.
Sir Modern.
Yeah.
Sir Modern 7-string.
Yep.
Is it
That
some
kind of
sort
looks
of
cool.
some
Now,
sort of drip finish? What type of finish did you put on it? Did
I
you
don't know
build
what
that?
they call it. I don't know what they call it. It was on my phone when I was doing it, so I literally have no idea what it's even called or whatever. But I saw that and I was like, that's really, really, really neat looking. So we'll see. You know, if I ever win the lottery or something.
Desiree Dornan, don't be offering my guitars to people. Just wait till after this show.
Hey, here's me and Butt Cheeks in Chicago on the Ozfest tour. He just sent me this.
Oh, very cool.
Yep.
You still look like Dweezil Zappa.
So yeah, well, I would say the time when things were kind of going hairy with the band as far as like not being able to find a drummer, I really started to get into like recording and things like that. You know, because I was when Larry mentioned earlier about the program and the drums thing. When I started to do that type of stuff and like record the band's material, I just fell in love with it. And I'm the type of person, and you know, all my friends and Jeannie knows this, like when I'm doing one thing, like if I have 2 things to do, if I'm doing one of them, I ain't doing the other. Like my brain I can't focus on 2 things. So if I'm mixing a record, for instance, I will not play guitar until that album is done. Mm-hmm. If I'm playing guitar and learning things, I won't vacuum the house. You know, so I literally have to focus on one thing, or I focus on nothing. I can't split my brain into 2 different things, and it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But that's the shame, is like, you know, I feel myself getting better at guitar, and then I got to mix a record, and then 2 weeks go by and I haven't touched a guitar. And then everybody knows when you don't play guitar for 2 weeks, it takes a little bit to get it back, you know?
Yeah. Hey guys, stop for 1 second. Nerd Halen on 3. 1, 2, 3. Nerd Halen. All right.
Yep.
Back to the show.
Back to the show.
All right. So the new record, the new single, just came out recently. Well, what was the date? Was it April what? April 15th or so? March? Was it March?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Neither do I.
Took me a while to listen to it, but when I finally listened to it, my jaw dropped. I was like, "Oh my god!" First of all, you know how I feel about that style of music. I'm not a fan.
Mm-hmm.
But when I heard it, and I heard especially the middle part, the whole middle section that sounds like it could be on Ozzy's Boneyard, or it just sounds like it could be on the radio. I mean, it's just sounds like something I've heard before, but nothing that I've heard before. I was so impressed.
Really?
I couldn't believe myself. I mean, I was like, wow, that's just fucking incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in that song. But there's a ton of groove. I'm with Dave too. I love that middle section.
That's the
Yeah.
that stuff. Is
Yeah,
that
play it.
all right or no?
Play it.
Yeah, see, I like the heavy shit, but I also like that melody, man.
Man, that's just great stuff. I mean, your singer really knocked it out of the park. You know, I'm not big on the Cookie Monster sound, but that, man, I could listen to that all day.
Well, that's Mike Ball's in the chat. That's him singing. The first part was him, and then the second part is both of them kind of doing, and their voices ended up blending really, really well together.
Yeah.
So it's nice having people that can sing, man. It really is.
Really cool. Well, I mean, all the performances,
Outstanding.
home run.
That come through at all, or was that kind of?
Not really, but we got the gist. You know, I mean, it is what it is. It just, music on these things suck.
Yeah, I know. And then you got. Hold on, let me find the. Here's one of my favorite parts. Now, if you're a drummer out there, I'm going to turn it up so you can maybe hear it. If you're a drummer out there, this next part to me is like super cool. Not just the first part, but the second part when the beat comes in. I still don't understand how Jimmy plays it. I want him to do a video for it, but who knows? See, there's so much he's doing there that's like, what, but
yeah. Well, let's can you get it on, where can you get that song? Is it out yet? Can people buy that?
No, the only place to hear it right now is either Instagram or on Facebook.
All right, so everyone after this show, go to Jay's Facebook or go to his Instagram and listen to that song, because I tell you what, I know you might have other things to do. Please listen to it. It's a great song. Check it out. BV Ninja says, Jay, when did you start to go down the studio rabbit hole? And what started you on the journey, and where and how did you study?
Study.
How did you learn your way around the studio?
Oh, I would say that once the first time we were in the studio and the engineer was using Pro Tools, that was it. Once I saw it on the screen, his name is John DeClario, and he owns a studio in New York called Nada Recording Studio. And once I saw him kind of like maneuver around Pro Tools, it just, I was drawn to it, and I think I bought Pro Tools maybe within a year after the first time that he was like, that he recorded us, and I saw it, and that was it, man. I was sold. I was like, I want to do that, and of course my initial thing was, well, I want to do it to record the band, and then once kind of the band was like a little weird, as far as, not doing anything because, we weren't touring anymore. Then I started to record other bands. And then that was it. I was like, that's what I want to do. And I really did almost stop playing guitar for virtually, 9 years, 10 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of Dave and Johnny that I kind of picked it back up.
Oh, and I want to also thank Johnny for putting the link to the song up here on the chat. Check it out.
Can I do a change the audio so it's not doing the mic? Is it doing?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Whatever. I was trying to see if I could do it so it's actually hearing the the QuickTime thing instead.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I just also want to again reiterate, if you feel like donating to the virtual tip jar, it's PayPal at dnrwb5150@aol.com, and also in Venmo, same thing. It's not a requirement, except for the one guy that gave me the thumbs down. That guy's required to.
Hey,
Jay
Desiree has a question. She wants to know, how did you come up with the name for the band?
It's the dumbest story ever. I mean, we were in high school and I was in science class, and what was the teacher's name, man? God, I feel bad that I can't remember now. But he was, I didn't pay attention much, but I did hear when he said, we were talking about like atoms or molecules or something, and he was like, you could, no matter what you do to them, they're always the same. You could name it Gizmachi and it's still the same thing. And I was like, I heard that. I didn't hear anything else you were talking about, but I heard that. And then I remember like asking Mr. Haight. That's right. Haight. See, Balls remembers everything, man.
That's my foot doctor's name. Dr. Haight. Maybe
it's the same guy.
I hope not.
Does he call your feet, call your little toesies Gizmachis?
No, I don't want to tell you what I call them.
I do know that when we started to get heavier, there was serious talks of us like changing the name because, you got a heavy band, everybody's, Entombed and, Cannibal Corpse and all these like super like, names that are just, Gizmachi. It's like, what is it?
I always wanted to ask you, but I just didn't feel like, busting your chops over it. But I was like, what does that even mean? What is that? What's a Gizmachi? I thought maybe you watched, Gremlins at one point and they, smashed Gizmo with something else. And I don't know. Don't feed it after midnight.
It's definitely not the coolest name, but I guess it is kind of unique in a genre where everybody's named something evil and
yeah. Nice. Unique and Monique.
Yeah.
So Jay, on the new single, how many of those performances are performances that you captured back when you started the process, and how or any of those exist, or are the performances newer, or is it a mixture of both?
It's definitely a mixture of both. I mean, the rhythm guitars, the drums and rhythm guitars were recorded in 2010. The bass was recorded at the end of 2011. Mike Ball's vocals were recorded in 2012. Bjorn from Soilwork, his vocals were recorded in 2016 and 17, I believe. The end of 2016, beginning of 2017. Or was it 17 and 18? Whatever it was. And then my solos, the majority of my solos were done last summer and in the end of last summer. But there are a couple solos on this album that I kept the demo solo, like when I was writing them. I try to like go back and relearn it, and I'm like, I'm trying to play it as good as it is there already. Why am I doing that? Because you guys know it as guitar players and musicians. Sometimes you try to get that original vibe back of something, and you're trying to get that vibe that's already there. If the performance sucked, that's one thing. But let me find it. In this song. Wait, is it? Hold on. Yeah, the one coming up right here. that whole lead guitar part was recorded in 2006.
So was that double tracked or is that in an eventide?
There's two guitars.
Cool.
Yep. I kind of nicked that one lick from Petrucci. A little bit
It sounded very much like that band.
Petrucci little habit he does from time to time. I was like, that's kind of neat. Let me see if I can do something like that and not play it as well.
No, you played it really well. You know, you underplay your guitar playing so much, and that actually angers me a little bit because I think you're a fantastic guitar player. You really need to own that. And I know that you're humble as hell, and that's fine. Being humble is great, but you need to own that you're a really good guitar player. You need to stop saying that you're not.
Well, I just think that it's like I think a lot of people probably feel the same way. It's like they know they can be better at something.
That's different. No, that's different. But the way you downplay your guitar playing is like you don't think you're that good. And I'm like, man, what are you talking about, dude? Do you hear yourself? Well, like for me to say that, for me to even say that to someone, you got to be damn good, because if I don't think you are, I won't say anything.
I can play another solo real quick if you want.
Yeah,
play it.
How about the one where you and Larry are going back and forth?
Oh yeah, I'll play that in a few too. That one's super cool. Where would this one be? Here it is. This is my kind of straightforward. This was the easiest solo I think to write on the album because it's a basic normal chord progression. You know, a lot of other stuff is very what's the word? Oh my god, I can't
intricate.
No. It's
busy.
It's not basic chord progressions. We do a lot of chromatic stuff.
Okay.
You know, so when chords aren't moving around normally, you know, when you got, it almost sounds like you can be out of key, and you're really not, because you're putting. I don't know. This one was kind of.
It's called jazz.
Yeah, but there's this one. Let me turn it up, and hopefully it comes through a little better. There's that one.
All right. So I just listened to that solo, and I will tell you that most guitar players that play your style of music are not playing that melodic and that clean and that note choice. They're not. You know, I know that it's some of your favorite music and all, and they're some of your heroes. But the guys like the Kerry Kings, I'm sorry, it doesn't sound as good as what I just heard. Yeah. It's just me being me. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve doing what he does and being as well known as he is, but I have never heard him play a solo that sounds like that. That sounds like a guitar virtuoso in metal, and it's amazing. It's just amazing sound.
A lot of melody. You can sing that. You can sing that solo. You can sing all of your solos, really. So you've got a lot of melody built into those compositions.
And whether or not you write them note for note, note by note, and you practice. I figured as much, because I remember you telling me that your downfall is you're not that good of an improv player, which you either are or you're not. You know, that's one thing. That's one thing about guitar players. You're either a good improv player or you're not. There's no in between. Mm-hmm. But what you do fantastically, and don't sell yourself short, because that's just incredible. It's incredible.
Well, thank you. I mean, I really do wish, I'd love to be able to go to a jam night, open mic night or something, and just get up on stage with a guitar and plug in and just play with dudes and just play with dudes and just play with a bunch of guys. And that even sounds worse.
I'll tell you, Desiree says you have guys like Jay that's really good and doesn't realize it. Then you have guys that suck that think they're amazing. And that's the truth. That's the truth.
I bet you could do that, Jay. I bet you totally could do that. And Brendan agrees with me.
Man, I got that time. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you totally could. But I mean, it would begin with it. You've got a great ear. Obviously, you know how to construct pieces. You know how to play what you hear in your head. I wouldn't sell yourself so short and thinking that you couldn't play in that environment.
I don't know. I get nervous, man. Even on here, like, when I pick up a guitar and play something on the air sometimes.
Yeah, like the beginning to Mean Streets.
You want me to play that? I get tense, man. I get nervous when I get on there. It's the same thing. Like, I think, even being on tour with like other bands, there's a difference between guitarists and drummers. I'll go there first. And anybody that's been on tour with a band, they know exactly what I'm talking about. You pull into the venue, first day of a tour, the first time you're meeting the other bands, all of a sudden everybody gets out of the van or the bus, whatever you want to, whatever. The drummers right over to each other. Hey, what kit you use? What pedals you got? I'm using these sticks. I got these heads. What are you guys doing? Guitar players, separate corners of the venue, and it's an ego thing. I think a lot of guitar players.
Really?
Yes.
And I don't. I beg to differ. Maybe with what you guys did.
Most tours I was on, man, that's how it was, dude.
I got to tell you, every time I've done double and triple bills with other guitar players, I make sure we all hung out together. Hey, man, what are you playing? What strings are you using, man? What's ramp settings?
Yeah, I don't know.
I love that stuff. I love that stuff.
My experience parallels Jay's. That and it is so unfortunate that it happens, and I don't understand it. But Dave, what you're talking about is you're talking about a concerted effort to bring people together to say, okay, let's have a conversation. If someone is not driving that bus in that process, my experience is that it just won't happen.
That's true. And I always drive that bus. I'm always the one to go up to people and say, hey, man, actually, that's not true, because a lot of times when I would play, and I don't want to bring this back to me, but in this case, I want to. A lot of people would come up and, man, what amp is that? And I'd be happy to talk to people. Super happy. I'm like, oh my God. Because first of all, at the time, I was a 300-pound guy playing guitar, bald-headed guy playing guitar, and playing, fun stuff. And for people to even come up to me at the time was like, oh my God, you want to talk to me? He's a better looking dude, but it was, I love talking to people, and I love when people talk to me and ask me questions about that stuff. It's just a lot of fun, and it's camaraderie.
I just always experienced that there had to be some sort of warm-up period before guitar players would have these open and honest conversations with each other. Like Mike just said, an icebreaker. For some reason, we could just never do it the way drummers could seem to do it. I don't know, for whatever reason.
Sorry to cut you off.
I just believe that no matter who the player is, no matter what their particular strengths and weaknesses are, we have the ability to advance our own playing by learning from others, regardless of how long I've been playing versus you've been playing versus what I like to play versus what you like to play. We all have the ability to learn from one another, and we all know that deep down, because we're obsessed with watching each other on video, and how'd he do that, and how'd he do that, and does this fit into what I'm
better than me? Oh shit!
What overdrive pedal are you using? Oh my God, that solo sounded amazing. What year is that Stratocaster? It's just like great opening lines, and then you get friendly with people. It's just that's how you. Well, I don't have to tell you.
I don't know,
but it's just, I think it's all that anger in your young man's music.
No, Desiree says it. It seems to be ego and competition with guitar players. I think
it should be no competition. We're all in the same thing.
Oh, I agree, but it was always, when I was in high school, it was like, oh, hey, this guy might be the best guitar player in the school. Oh, this guy's good. This guy. That's how a lot of the guitar players were.
You're right. It was like that, but you know what? You become friendly with those people. And I'm not telling you how to act. Yeah, I know you know, huh?
A lot of them, they don't want. A lot of those shredders, they have that ego to them. Like I don't want to talk to this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the older I get, the more I've come to understand that it really is some sort of defensive insecurity kind of mechanism. All the while overlooking the fact that my journey with my guitar is always going to be different than y'all's journey. And we're all on this individual path with it, right? And what brings me joy and happiness when I play the guitar may not bring others that same amount of happiness. And I try to encourage players that I come in contact with to, what is it about playing this guitar? Because we spend so much time with it, and we spend so much time woodshedding. What is it that playing it makes you happy? And are you really fulfilling that particular happiness, or are you on some sort of course to compete with somebody else, for some other reason? It's that's why we all kind of approach this thing in different ways. I'm also, and I'm okay if guys want to criticize me for this, and I also don't believe that playing the guitar is really that big a deal. If you put the time in, you can play the guitar. Now, we were all going to have different levels of ability, different levels of dexterity. We're all going to have slightly different ears. We're all going to gravitate toward things in a different kind of way. But if you buy one, set it up right, put the time in it, you're going to play it. I mean, it's not rocket science.
It's the time. That's the thing. And, a lot of guys, I know, I don't want to throw Cameron Brown under the bus, but he told, and maybe I shouldn't tell this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. I think we're close enough friends now, Cameron, if you're still watching.
Yeah, and chances are it's going to be a positive thing anyway.
Well, yeah, because somebody that he knew, sorry, nose hair's tickling my nose. I'm itchy right now. But he was telling me, like, somebody that he knew, or maybe it was a friend, maybe it wasn't, but I guess somebody that he knew was, like, pissed off when he started getting, like, endorsements. And I guess this person was saying something like, what did he do to deserve that, and all this stuff, and almost like taking stuff away. And I'm like, dude, do you know how much time it took you to get where you are now as a guitar player?
Yeah.
Like I'm not anywhere near as good as Cameron Brown is. And I spent a lot of time playing the goddamn guitar. So to take something away, or to say that somebody doesn't deserve something or whatever, that just because, they're not playing Madison Square Garden or some BS. Like, dude, the amount of time that it takes an individual, and I'm not just talking about guitar, I'm talking about anything in life.
Mm-hmm.
It takes skill and all that stuff. It takes a lot of goddamn time and commitment.
That's right.
To be that good.
And quite frankly, not only because guys like Cameron Brown are amazing guitar players, but look at all the people he's reaching on social media. That's really why he's getting his endorsements, because thousands and thousands and thousands of people are watching him play and seeing the guitar he's playing, and they want to be like him.
Mm-hmm.
So why not give him a couple guitars and an amplifier and blah, blah, blah? Because that's going to help sell that stuff.
Well, it's just jealousy. That's what a lot of it is. I mean,
and it's unfortunate. I watch Cameron's videos, and you see that he's got this passion for playing, mm-hmm. and he's obviously got the wherewithal to sit with that instrument for a long, long time. And you can see you can see the result of that. But there's a lot. Most everybody in here is a player. Mm-hmm. I've watched several of these guys in the chat play here and there, and in social media. Everybody has something, that is inspiring, something that is moving, and it's a joy to see the player be happy, with the instrument.
Well, your quarantine videos you've been putting up, man, Ty, you're one hell of a player, man. Holy shit. I was watching some of that stuff. I'm like, wow. The phrasing, the fluidity of your playing.
Not only that, but that he's a chameleon. He can sound like Vi. He can sound like Satch. He can sound like John Sykes.
Is he a
You close your eyes. Huh?
Is he a karma chameleon though?
Well, thank you. You're very kind.
Well,
I want you to get the top hat on and put the hair on and play like someone else we know.
I love that guy's playing. I love that playing. I love that style.
Well, I'll tell you this. Back to the whole, drummers versus guitar players, right? When we did that tour with Slipknot, the first day of the tour, Joey Jordison from Slipknot comes strolling over right out of the car, out of the whatever the hell it was, off the bus. Serengeti sunglasses on, fur coat, comes strolling right over. Hey, which one of you is the drummer? Instantly, him and Jimmy are, mouth to whatever you want to say it, and they're talking about drums, and they're talking about what pedals are you using, and they're talking about this. Not once on that whole tour. Now, Mike Balls might be able to tell a different story, but not one time on that tour did me or Mick from Slipknot or Jim Root from Slipknot ever get together and talk about guitars. Not once. But the second Joey gets there, where's your drummer? I want to talk to him about drums.
I got to tell you, I think in that style of music, most of the musicians, don't give a shit about gear. I think it's more about attitude and more about emotions. I think it's a more emotional thing. They don't care. The gear is just a tool. They don't care. They don't care about the gear.
I don't know that I disagree with your point, Dave. I still like having a conversation with a guitar player like we've done tonight, like we did last week, like we did the week before that. We don't play that style of music. We're not, I think. But those guys were still inspired for some reason to pick it up and play it.
Yeah.
And
I think that the music is the inspiration. The music that they played was their inspiration, not the gear.
And I love hearing those. I love hearing those stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can get the player to kind of open up and talk about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You want to hear that Larry Mitchell trade?
Yes.
I'm hoping it's going to come through. Jeannie said that it sounds better when it's lower because it doesn't start to get all crappy, but whatever. So there was a solo in one of the songs. It's easily the most up-tempo, straight for the throat song that we have on the album. It's one of the shortest too. I think it might be the shortest song. And there's a solo section in there. Let me see if I remember how to play the actual rhythm riff. Let me see. I'm gonna murder this. I know I'm gonna totally screw it up. Let's see. I already forget. I forget how to play it. It's like I forget, but it's not anything like normal chord progressions. Mike's probably watching like, dude, how do you not remember that riff? Anyway, so I was having a hard time writing a solo to this thing because I'm like, man, it's got to be a shred solo because I just can't, there's really no notes to hang on to before things start shifting around. You know what I mean? You hit a note, next thing you know, the chord's changing underneath it and it sounds like you're playing the wrong note,
Mm-hmm.
So,
safe to say you know how to play over the changes.
Yeah, shit. So next thing you know, I'm like, I asked the guys, I'm like, hey, would you guys be cool with maybe me asking, like Larry Mitchell to do a solo, like we can trade back and forth. And next thing you know, I'm calling Larry, I'm asking him, he's like, send me the track. So here's the part. It's going to start off with just the riff alone. And then halfway through it gets into the solo. But here's the hold on. Is that coming through all right?
Got to turn it up a little bit.
I'm getting text saying it's too low. You can't hear shit.
Can't hear it. Yeah, you can't hear it.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that's basically what it is. It goes Larry, me.
Johnny Bean. He doesn't probably have it. You can't send them to him.
Oh wait, can I do the hold on, just audio processing. What if I do it that way? Let me try it again. See if this works. And if it doesn't work, I'll just tell me to stop it and I'll stop it.
It's better. That's pretty cool from what I could hear.
Yeah.
I would still like to. I'd like you to send that to me so I could really hear it.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I have. That's one of the. Actually, when I said like every solo I write, it's note for note. That's the one solo that there was a couple parts in there where I just let my fingers go, and I don't remember how the hell I played some of this shit.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounded great. Because you can get the gist of what that was. Was it you or was it Larry that was doing that 3 notes per string all the way up the neck really fast?
The oh shit, what the hell was it?
Yeah, all the way up the neck.
That's Larry there, the first one.
Yeah.
Hold on.
That's Larry.
Better louder. Larry.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I could tell us picking anywhere. Yeah, that's great.
That's fantastic.
That's very cool.
All right, I just screwed something up. Okay, I got out of it.
It was great.
Yeah, so it's just really neat to say that, like I'm on a song and an album, my own album with
a hero of yours.
One of my guitar heroes. So
yeah,
very neat. Very neat.
And we'll get Vi on the phone and get him on your next record.
But you know what? There's still there's still like a super duper huge place in my heart for that first Larry Mitchell record. Like I said before, it's the album that I was listening to when I was like, I need a guitar. I want a guitar.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So when are we gonna hear? I know we're in this period of COVID-19. When do you think we'll hear the rest of that record?
We were talking about possibly putting another song out, but here's the issue. There's a very good chance where we can get a distribution deal from a label, not a record deal, because we don't want that. Sure. But the album's paid for, it's finished, the artwork is done, like everything is basically finished with the record. We would just like somebody to put it out for us to get more, more promotion behind it, and more eyes on it. We can put it out ourselves if we had to, but like I said, I think it's a better bet for us to get somebody behind it and to help distribute it. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. It's like everything has to kind of start up again for it to happen. We still have a lot of contacts in the music industry. So Jimmy, tell the story about Steve Vai's pants in the Ibanez catalog.
Hey, ADD boy, finish your story.
So, yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait until everything picks back up, really. And then knowing how everything works, it might still be a few months. That a label might say, "Yeah, we want to put it out for you, but we're gonna promote it before we put it out." For a couple months. So we feel like if we keep putting out songs, a label might say, hey, you guys put out too much music already. Like, we don't want to,
Mhm.
we're not going to touch it. So we're kind of nervous about it happening.
So why not put out one or two more, make it like an EP, and then put them, say that they're on then just re-release them on a record.
I mean, that's a cool idea too. Maybe we will put out another one. I know that we've kind of discussed what song would be like the first actual single, Let me see. Let me change the audio back. And there's this one's kind of like, it almost has two choruses to it, but
Fine.
so there's that stuff.
All right. So
Is that still coming through?
yeah, it's coming through.
Hold on a second. Let me get to something. Hold on. So that was Bjorn, the first part. Now Balls does the second. So that part, what were you going to say, Dave, before I get to that part?
Well, first of all, Ben Coombs says it reminds him of Anthrax, but I'm going to go one better. It reminds me of the Steve Vai record, Sex and Religion, with Devin Townsend singing. Your singers, first of all, I think Devin Townsend's probably one of the best vocalists on the planet and one of the best guitar players on the planet as well. As good as Steve Vai, maybe better. And I'm going to get killed for saying that. But if you listen to Devin Townsend play guitar, you might agree with me.
Devin's great.
Devin is amazing. But those vocals sound like Devin. And it reminds me of that Sex and Religion record. If you haven't heard Steve Vai's Sex and Religion, check it out.
Check it out.
The groove on that, just the groove is so good.
Well, I hate taking like credit for stuff and thinking like, oh, we did something that nobody's really done before. But that last riff that you heard, right? It's a couple times we've done this now, but a lot of people are doing that. If they have an 8-string guitar or something, like bending notes and stuff for riffs.
Yeah, sure. Gravity Storm. Steve Vai Gravity Storm.
So we actually do this. We we give the guitar a reach around, so it's, oh my God, I'm going to botch it up too. So you're bending it down, then you're pushing it, you're bending it or pulling it down, then pushing it up to the. So we did that one time. It's funny how that came about, because there's a Meshuggah song off of the album Nothing that start, they're using 8-string guitars, and the riff is like something like it's just some weird bending, but they're just bending it with the fret, So I remember Jimmy, the drummer, was like, I was screwing around playing that riff with the bar like that, with the bridge, and he came in with the drum beat and he's playing them a sugar part, and we're all laughing our asses off, like dun, 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 having a good time with it, joking around. And Jimmy's like, dude, we should write a riff like that, like write a part doing that. Like, so I'm like, that's actually kind of a cool idea. So next thing you know, he starts playing a drum beat, and then there's a part in the song Wandering Eyes that has the bridge bending in it. And we're still kind of wondering why nobody else has kind of done anything like that with bending the trim down. But
well, not that we know of anyway.
That's cool.
Not that we know of, but
Jay, Brendan B Squared has a question. He says, who would you like to collaborate with now if you could?
Oh my God, I never even think of shit like that. Johnny Bean and Dave Nesdall.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which reminds me, before you go any further, check us out. Johnny Bean show tomorrow night with Greg Renoff as our guest.
That's going to be a great one.
Mm-hmm. Talking about his new book, the Ted Templeman book.
Yep.
Oh, that would be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really don't know, man. It's, you guys asked me the other day about like touring again and stuff. And I know we're kind of running low on time, but
we have all the time you want, bro.
Well, it's up to you guys. I don't want to bore anybody. And I know sometimes I get a little crazy, but I don't have that itch really to like go out and put myself out and like, hey, let's do a song together with like musicians I don't really know. I mean, obviously I follow a lot of guitarists and drummers and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But
I think that part of me really wants to, like, if I'm going to work with them, I'd rather almost, mix a record or mix a song for them. That gets my gears going a little bit more than, hey, let's do a song together,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, if I was going to do something again, it would be with the same guys that I was in the band with. We've talked about something. A lot of bands are doing the quarantine jams and songs and stuff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just thinking the other day. I'm like, frig it, we should do one of those. You know what I mean?
You should.
So, yeah. So we're going to do one. We're going to do an 80s song, which a lot of us, especially like me and Mike Balls. We love a lot of that stuff, like the Duran Duran and, the Fix and the Outfield and
oh yeah, man,
all that great stuff, man. And, Jimmy likes it too, but me and Mike Balls are kind of really up, we love that stuff a lot. So we're going to do something like that, man. Film a video. Obviously none of us together. I mean, I'm in South Carolina. They're all in New York, but
you guys should do you guys should do, sorry. Don't fall in love.
That's a great song.
Yeah.
That's a great song.
Yeah.
We already kind of
get your Lukather out.
That's Lukather. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We chose a song that isn't going to take us, weeks to learn, and something we can kind of all get behind and dig it.
Yeah.
So be looking out for that soon.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So did I leave anything out, or did you guys not ask something before?
You know what? We still we haven't done this. We haven't touched on this. Let's look at some of your guitars.
Oh, can I pee real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Right back. I'll wash my hands before I touch my guitars. Don't worry.
All right. Awesome stuff. Gotta love Jay Hannon.
Not a lot, it's been quite a journey for him.
Yeah, it has.
As a pro.
And he is a pro. He really is. All kidding aside, he's gone places that I wish I've gone. He's done things that I wish I had done. That I'm sure most of us wish we've done. He's a celebrity musician, whether you think so or not. He is a good guy. Really, really talented guitar player, talented songwriter, engineer and producer. Man, the sound of that record, even on here, as shitty as it sounds on this medium, you can tell that the mix. I mean, everything sounds great. And the musicianship, the whole band. Oh my God, how good is that?
Yeah, the band's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the intricacy of their music. I wonder, we should ask Jay when he gets back how they describe themselves musically, or if one of the other guys in the chat in the band, I mean, how is it that you describe the creative product? Is it progressive? Is it, I mean, how do you describe it?
That's true. Yeah. I don't know how you describe it.
Well, there's so much character to it, Dave. I mean, we were talking when the three of us were talking the other day. There's so much character to the music, and there's a left turn here and a right turn here, and rhythmically, there's a lot of there's a lot of different types of rhythms in the songwriting. Yeah. Jay, how do you describe Gizmachi's music?
I mean, the easiest way, I guess, would be like progressive metal. I mean, that's, I don't really know. I mean,
Mike says it's not typical metal, and I agree.
No, it's not. It's melodic metal. I call it melodic metal.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with all the different time signatures and polyrhythms, and I mean, to me, that's a part of being progressive. I don't really know, man. It's tough. I don't want to be considered, like that straightforward whatever. But look, yeah, Ellie putting stickers on. I can't take them off. A little 3-year-old puts a sticker on your guitar. It's like, I don't want to take it off.
Yeah. I wouldn't. Oh my God! If I had a kid and she put a sticker on my 53 Telly, I'd lose my mind.
Well, the good thing with this is these stickers would come right off. There'd be no problems with the finish, But this is the second 7-string I owned. Jimmy, the drummer, has my original RG that I literally gave to him like a friggin' idiot. But Craig Stofko at CHS Custom Guitars, he actually just painted that for Jimmy. And also, I got to give Craig a plug. He sent me his THR 10X patches last night, or two nights ago. Man, there's some awesome patches on that damn thing. So if you want some awesome patches, reach out to Craig. Tell him we sent you. So yeah, this is my first Universe that I had, or that I got. And this is the guitar that's all over the Imbuing, the first Gizmachi record. I just put the red one in there recently, but yeah, it's an awesome guitar. It's got the stock pickups in it still, but I got this in 2000, and it was literally my main guitar from 2000 till about the end of 2005, I think, is when I got the black and green one, which that's the main guitar on the new Gizmachi record. All the rhythm guitars were done with this. The majority of the solos, again, Ellie put this sticker on it, but I think that looks cool on this one.
That's cool.
So this one I actually got and had it sent to Ibanez because I was endorsed with Ibanez, and I had to kind of, because obviously they wanted me to buy a new, guitar from them. But I'm like, all you make is one Universe, and I already have it. Like, I need another one. So this came up in a trade that I ended up getting, and it's phenomenal. It's a 91 Universe, and I had it sent into Ibanez before I even got it, and they cleaned it all out, put new electronics in. They put a Air Norton in the neck and an Evolution in the bridge. And the reason why this isn't green, at the time they didn't make Air Nortons in any fun colors. It was just literally, well, if you want the Air Norton, it's got to be a black one. I was like, whatever.
And I keep telling you should put a new Air Norton in it now and make it green.
Yeah, it kind of looks cool though, a little different. But I mean, this guitar just feels unbelievable. Like the neck is so thin on it and just worn in nice. The only negative thing about this guitar, is when you're playing on stage and the lights hit and they're only the red lights, the dots disappear on the fretboard.
Well, aren't the side dots, are they green or are they white?
They're white.
Well, then that's all you need.
I understand that, but in the middle of a solo or something, you know, when you're staring at your fretboard and all of a sudden the lights go red and your fretboard goes black, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where, you know, I'd get thrown off like, oh shit, you know, just one of those fun things. But like this guitar is very resonant and just, it vibrates. Like, you know, your body shakes when you play this thing. So this is definitely like, you know, if you were to tell me I can only take one guitar with me, you know, a desert island guitar, this would probably have to be the one, because it's the one I played the most and, you know, just feels the best out of all that. And then after my terrible time trying to get a Kiesel guitar, which thank God I don't have anymore. Thank God it was not good. This was gifted to me by a very awesome person that we're not allowed to talk about. But this was a gift, and I can't believe how good of a guitar it is. It's 2019 RG. Obviously, the pickups are all changed out. You know, the ones they had in there, they were the oh my God, the PAF 7s, and I don't think they even compare to the regular PAF Pros that DiMarzio puts out, because they just didn't cut the mustard. So I put a Ragnarok bare knuckle and an Emerald bare knuckle, and they're excellent pickups. And this guitar this is the one I play the most now. It's a friggin' amazing guitar. And Dave got me hooked on the goddamn graphite or the carbon fiber
Trem
bar, and I want to buy them for all my damn guitars.
They're the shit.
Yeah, at first I didn't like it, and then I was like, let me try it again, and I was like, yeah, I like it. So this one, you know, I have that little piece of tape there. Jeannie had some pink and clear tape. I'm like, that would be neat, you know. It's like I can never find the hole. You know, I'm one of those guys. I can't find the hole.
I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
Yeah,
because I insert my foot right there.
Here's Japanese Wolfgang. That is amazing. Sounds great. When I was playing the 6 strings instead for a while, this guitar, it's still amazing. I was actually messing around with it last night.
Is it in tune?
The tuners aren't locked.
Oh, insert Mean Street. Mean Street.
I'm gonna play it on this or play it on the Gem.
Oh yeah, well, whatever you want to play it on. How about that?
All right, I'll play it on the Gem. It's because once I touch the bar, it's gonna go. They like my shorts?
No.
And then here's this was my first EVH guitar. When they announced that they were putting these out, I was like, I gotta have one of those, man. What? Oh, Jeannie. This one's the strings are completely dead, and these.
But it's still in tune though.
Kinda. But
is that neck still fit in that neck pocket? Which one was the neck that you ruined?
Oh, that's the one back there, the maple neck. Yeah. That's a cool guitar. It's not as nice as the Japanese one, but I think we all know that. You know, the Japanese Wolfgangs are right, you know, just a tit below the American ones. So, and here's the I've always wanted an Ibanez Gem. And our buddy Cameron Brown, I was able to get this from him earlier this year, and it's killer. You know?
Yeah, that's a great guitar.
Very cool.
I have one of those.
Yeah. And it's the 2017 30th anniversary. And it is the 52nd one made.
Cool.
Man,
Now,
that's good. That's low.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, this one should be in tune. Let me you want Mean Street? Let's see. Oh crap, I don't know if I have the fair warning patch on it.
So what?
Well, whatever. I'll dial back the that's too much, too hot. Too You want to see my cowboy shorts? Somebody called them cowboy shorts. I don't know why. Hold on. Is this better? Man, it's too hot, man. Is that coming through?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll put the
Shut
mic
up
back
and play a
on.
guitar.
All right, hold on. Let me check. So now I'm getting nervous as I'm playing on here. All right, here we go. I'm going to get you flagged for this. You know that.
I don't care.
Well, this is an E. I should play it in E flat. Whatever. That was the worst I've ever played it on the air, by the way.
Oh, stop. Played
See,
it better
that's
than I ever did.
The hardest thing is going from that transition in that one note is like, whoa, you got to get it there, you know?
Hang on. Let's do this.
But a lot of people miss, and I've said this before, a lot of people miss the on the intro part, that one, the hold on the high E and the high B string. That's it. Ah!
All
That's
right.
great, man.
The action's
That's
too
great.
close.
All right,
again-
Eddie Van Halen, that's how you play your goddamn song.
This is either the Judgment Day patch or the Amsterdam patch from Craig Stofko. I should have had the fair warning patch on my amp, but I forgot to save it. So, sorry about that, Dave and Todd.
Don't be sorry. I thought it sounded fantastic.
Yeah, it sounded great.
Eddie hasn't played it that well since the record.
You know, I always wonder why, like on the Live on the Net video, like he plays the first part, he plays that, but he when he goes into the next part, it's the whole other thing, you know.
Yeah, well, that's part of his standalone guitar solo.
Yeah, but no, it's
Awesome job.
awesome.
Yeah, really good.
Thanks.
Well, it's 10:28.
Mm-hmm.
Jay, you want to switch back to so that we don't have delay on?
Sorry. How about this?
Look at that
Yeah, that's awesome.
with the
Reverse headstock.
the Bruce Kulick ESP.
The guitar that he never picked up. That was the first time I think I ever like picked up a guitar like that. And I had no idea what I was doing.
The one that he did have had a Strat-like headstock.
Mm-hmm.
If that was the second one, that guitar is worth a lot of money because now they're doing LTD and Bruce Kulick have put out these replicas of that guitar, which are gorgeous, and he's using one. But
what's the story of that guitar?
It's called what the hell did he call it? Do you know what he called it, Jay? What's the process? It's like it's not a swirl dip, but it's like I
have no idea.
I don't know what he called it, but it's he did that. I think it was on the Revenge record, maybe.
Mm.
I'm not a big Kiss guy, so I don't know. I just know that he played on Revenge. Maybe it was Animalized. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, the original one was from the late '80s, and it's now in some sort of hard rock cafe. And and now Bruce Kulick is doing all these Facebook things every day where he does isolated Kiss guitar solo tracks, and he shows off the guitars of his Kiss years. Mm-hmm. And that was one of them. And ESP and LTD are now making these replicas of that guitar, which is kind of cool.
That's cool.
How can I get to? Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's strange, man.
So the story behind this guitar, Ty, is, remember I told you earlier, my brother was in a band in high school.
Yep.
his guitarist, that was his guitar. And his story was, and actually I confirmed this last year with Bruce. I messaged Bruce about the guitar and sent him that exact picture. He's like, I said to him, does this guitar look familiar? And I sent him the picture. And he goes, yes, where is it? So I told him the story. I said, my brother was in a band in high school, and this would have been probably around 1991, 92, maybe something around there. So, I just explained that to him and said, my brother's guitar player, Rob, he was at, what's the street?
48th Street.
48th Street Customs, and that guitar was there. And the guy that worked there told him, yeah, this guitar was made for Bruce Kulick from Kiss, and he'd never picked it up. So Rob bought it. I don't know how much he bought it for, whatever, what the story was or whatever. But Bruce basically, I tried to find out where that guitar is. So I don't know how to get a hold of Rob. So I got a hold of Corey, my brother's old bass player. And he said that, Rob sold that a few years back. It's probably in
the John Mancuda collection.
It probably is, right? That'll be Tuesday's show and tell guitar. So Jay Hannon, yeah.
John says it's Crazy Nights Hot in the Shade era.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bruce was asking about it. He's like, I think he made it almost seem like he wanted it. He
probably does, because I'm sure he could get the original one back from the Hard Rock if he really wanted to. But there are a few guitars that Bruce has said publicly that he wants back. There were a few stolen that he wants back, and there are just a few guitars that he wants back in his collection, and that's kind of one of them.
Yeah. So Corey tried to get a hold of Rob, I guess, to find out where it would be now, and he couldn't get any info on it. So no idea, man. But it would be cool to see that thing pop up somewhere. Maybe we should put an APB out on it. All points Bonerton.
John Mancuda says he has one of Bruce's, but it's a Jackson. I'd like to see that guitar.
See, this is the other end of the room that I'm in, guys.
Yeah. Nice, nice piano.
Could you imagine?
Are those tulips on that organ?
Yeah. Thanks, John Bulware. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Good night,
take
John.
care.
Good night, John.
So Jay.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Thank you so much for doing this. You're a close and dear friend of mine, and I love busting your chops. But after tonight, I have a newfound respect for you. I still gonna bust the shit out of your chops.
Good, I like that.
But man, what a talented musician you are, and thank you so much for doing this with us.
Well, thank you guys, and real quick, I want to tell the story of Dave when you called me last month. I was outside walking the dogs and hanging with Ellie, and all of a sudden I got a phone call from Dave, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing May 7th?" And I'm like, "Shit, I don't know what I'm doing at 7 p.m. I don't, whatever." He's like, "Well, I want you to come on the show with me and Ty." And I was like, "Well, who's the guest going to be?" I'm thinking he wanted me to come on, or you wanted me to come on with you guys because you were having a guest like that I was a huge fan of. That's what I was thinking. I was like, "So who's the guest?" He's like, "You." And I was like, "What? Like, why the hell do you want me on the show? What am I going to talk about?" But this was really fun, man. This was super cool, and I appreciate my fellow bandmates coming in here, and I am still super close with those guys.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe we can do a part 2 with you and the bandmates. What do you say? What do you guys in the chat say? We get the rest of Jay's band on the show with us, and we. What do you say we talk about? Let's get a couple more songs out on the internet so we can hear and we discuss them.
I think it's a really cool story, and those of us that have played in bands know how rare it is that you're playing with the same guys 20 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really rare. And you said that you and Chris were even in that very first band together. He's been your bass player. So is he the only bass player you've ever?
Yes, Chris.
You've ever been with?
It was the guy before him. Now we're going to get into some funny stories if you got 10 more minutes.
We have 10 more minutes.
All right. So Chris and I, we were not friends at first. We had a guitar class together that I failed. I failed guitar class. Don't ask me why. So day 2 of school in, I want to say 10th grade or whatever it would have been. I was coming out of algebra class, which was my first or second class of the day. Homeroom, which was 3rd period, was guitar class. So I'm coming out of algebra, going to guitar class. The second I come out of algebra class, which I failed as well, here comes
algebra.
Chris.
This is no place for you.
Here comes Chris walking with somebody else that was in our guitar class together. And I'm like, oh, you guys are going to, I'll walk to guitar class with you guys. Chris turns and looks at me like, gives me a look like that. I came, not that I'm a, you know, any kind of whatever, but I wanted to like slam him into a locker when that happened. Like he gave me the cold shoulder, like, who the fuck are you? You ain't walk with me. So I didn't like Chris for a while. So long story short, we got a different guy in the band to play bass, right? Who's a good dude and everything. And, you know, so we were going to do a talent show. And for this talent show, our bass player, who was actually a real guitar player, he wanted to play guitar for this song that we were going to do. And he's like, hey, let's bring in a bass player to play bass for this song. I was like, well, who do you want to get? He's like, what about Christian Gilmore? And I'm like, I ain't fucking playing with that asshole. That's probably literally note, like word for word what I said.
Note for note?
Yeah, note for note what I said. So after, you know, some serious deliberation, he got Chris to come over, and we just hit it off like a couple of fruitcakes, man. And it ever since then, you know, that's Chris has been my bass player. And it was, but the weird thing is having to kick out the guy that brought the new guy in. That was the hard part, you know. So we actually had to kick Mike out. My I want to say his full name on here, but we had to kick Mike out, the original bass player, for the guy that he brought in to fill in. So, you know, it was just one of those things. It's kind of funny that it turned out like that. And
what was the song?
It was an original.
Okay.
It was called "Run Like Hell," and obviously that's a, you know,
Pink
Floyd song, but it wasn't. You know, he had written this song on guitar, and he's like, oh, you know, I want to play guitar for it. You know, Jay, you can do rhythm. I'll play the lead, and we can get another bass player. And it's just funny, you know. A couple weeks later, we're kicking him out. We're keeping Chris. So yeah, I haven't actually played with that many musicians over the years. I mean, you know, 2 drummers between Anthony and now Jimmy, and Chris been basically, you know, the only bass player, and you know, Mike was the you know, this other guitar player in the band since what year did you join, Mike? Mike didn't even want to join at first. It took him 2 weeks to accept the gig. That pissed us off. Anyway, now I'm starting to ramble about funny stories that I remember. So yeah, we should, once we get a little more going with the album, we'll have to come on here, man. It'll be fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's now 10:38 p.m. Do you know what time it is? Yeah. Thanks again, Jay. Really appreciate this.
Yes, thank you.
Once again, tomorrow night on the Johnny Bean Show, we have Greg Renoff as our guest. Jay will be there with me and, of course, Johnny Bean. Ty, thank you so much. As always, you are the bomb. You are so a pleasure to work with. This show doesn't work without you, so I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave. Always happy to be here.
Yeah.
Jay, thanks so much. This was fantastic.
It was fun. I was nervous, man. I was like, what the hell am I even going to say? But you know, just if I can before we split, you know, let me plug my terribly inept social media pages.
Please.
On Facebook, follow the band. It's just Gizmachi Band, I believe, on Facebook. And then social media, Instagram is the same, like Gizmachi Band. My social media is J7/8. Twitter, I don't really do too much. But yeah, follow us there, and tell the other guys that to kiss ass.
Yeah, suck it. All right. So on that note, guys, check this out.
Good night.